to famed Riverfront Stadium in Cincinnati, where tonight a key matchup in the National League Central Division, the Houston Astros and the Cincinnati Reds. The Astros trailing by a game, and you can see it reflected in the loss column. Good evening and welcome, everybody. I'm Brent Musberger with Larry Dierker. Folks, if you want runs, hang around my partner here. What is it, about 5 times the last 8 games, Houston's put 9 or more on the board, Larry?
You got that right, Brent. I'll tell you, it's been something to behold. I've been watching this team for 30 years, and I've never seen anything like this. And, of course, a big part of the reason is Jeff Bagwell, right in the middle of the order. He's hitting all the mistakes this year. He's hitting a lot of the good pitches this year. He's having an offensive season like no one else has ever had in a Houston Astros uniform. And I mean, he's hitting for average, for power, for RBI, scoring runs. He's doing it all.
Now, Cincinnati's only 500 since the All-Star break. But, Larry, they got the big fella back in left field tonight.
Oh, that big fella. I'm glad I don't have to pitch to him. He's just like Bagwell. He doesn't miss many mistakes. The Reds have missed him in the lineup a few games, and he is very important to them scoring runs. Al Morris, a guy who's always hit for average. Now, all of a sudden this year, he's hitting with a little bit of power and driving in runs.
And we've got a battle of the left-handers tonight. Greg Swindell of Houston against John Smiley of Cincinnati. Off we go to John Saunders.
And welcome to our Baseball Night in America studios here on ABC. I'm John Saunders. Out to your game in just a moment. But first, here's a look at some of the stories we will be following tonight, including the hot race in the National League East between the Atlanta Braves and Montreal Expos. Good news for the Braves. Terry Pendleton will start tonight. The team just 14-16 with him out of the lineup, so they will go head-to-head with the Expos leading by a game and a half. In the National League Central, the Reds lead the Astros by just 1 game. Jeff Bagwell already with 98 runs batted in as Houston tries to catch Cincinnati. In the American League Central, the White Sox took this series from the Cleveland Indians, so their lead is now 2 over Cleveland. They face Kansas City. Kansas City right now is 8.5 games behind Chicago, and we will get out to your game right after this ABC News Brief and a word from our ABC stations.
10-9 with a 3.61 ERA. Left-hander goes to the mound here for Cincinnati, and if he matched against this lineup, one of the most productive in Major League Baseball over the last couple of weeks, certainly since the All-Star break, he couldn't be any more effective than what the Houston Astros have been down there. They have ripped up one pitcher after another. Craig Biggio will lead it off, followed there by Mr. Finley, Jeff Bagwell. You can see his numbers. Kevin Bass in right field, and he's hit .319 as a starter, effective especially against left-handed batters. Andahar Cedeno has hit safely in 23 of his last 31. So it is Biggio who will step in here, Larry, and what can we expect from Mr. Smiley against Houston tonight?
Well, he came to the big leagues as a very hard thrower with a good breaking ball, and somewhere along the line he came up with a real good changeup, and now he's more of a complete pitcher, but doesn't throw quite as hard as he used to. So we can expect a little bit of everything. Fastball, breaking ball, straight change. Going against a guy right now to open this game who's one of the best on-base hitters in this league.
Dana DeMuth is the umpire behind the plate, and the first pitch in there for a strike. Biggio's career is amazing, isn't it? Here's a young man who has been an all-star catcher and a second baseman. What a rare combination. The only one in history to do it as he bounds one foul. And
he's a terrific athlete, and he's also a guy that really uses his head on the diamond. And I think that's why he was able to convert so easily from one position to another. He really has a good concept of what he's trying to do all the time. And against this particular pitcher, John Smiley, he's been 10 for 20 lifetime.
Brian Dorsett flashes the sign, and the ground ball to third. Fernandez, who has fielded spectacular, backs up, takes the hop, and throws him out. Now here's a young man who was complaining all spring about playing third, but he's been wonderful over there, Larry.
And you hit it to him, you're out. For the last 44 games in a row, he hasn't made an error. He leads all third basemen in the league in fielding percentage, and the Reds, by and large, have a good fielding ball club. Mitchell, of course, doesn't cover much ground, but outside of that, they can go get it.
Now, here is the center fielder, Steve Finley. I think we may have had his name incorrect on the graphic. Left-handed hitter against Smiley, and Smiley, as a rule, very tough on left-handed hitters. You can see that Finley, whether he was bluffing to bunt or not, might have wanted to test the defense here in the early going.
And take a look at a pitch, maybe pull the corner infielders in a step.
As a matter of fact, Larry, as you say that, Morris tightened up about a half step at first base on that. Right at the knees. So DeMuth apparently is going to give them the low strike tonight. Swindell will take note of that. Smiley certainly appreciates it.
If you only knew you could count on it.
Isn't that the truth? Just give me some consistency back there, huh? That's all we want. Down low, check swing. He was going after it and wishes he had it.
The Astros missed Finley for about 20 games, about a month ago. And they played about .500 ball while he was gone, but it was really not the same team defensively in the outfield. He really does a good job out there.
Look at Terry Collins, first-year manager over in the Houston dugout. Big series for him, too. Ground ball toward Boone at second. Backs up and throws him out. 2 infield ground balls for John Smiley in a rather easy first inning so far.
So far.
Yeah, look who's up.
The Astros, like a lot of teams that score well, have had numerous 2-out rallies this year. Guys like Bagwell and Caminetti, they could start one right here. But Smiley's been pitching pretty well lately. Had a tough time last time out, but won anyway against Florida. But he's been getting better as the year goes along.
And he throws ball one. In talking to Davey Johnson down on the field during batting practice, he said, I'm not sure how we're going to pitch to Bagwell. He says he seems to have handled everything. We'll just move it around and see what we can do as the series gets underway. That one low, and Smiley falls behind here early on in the count. A very unusual stance you were telling me about, Larry.
He spreads out, and what you'll see as he strides is that he actually steps backward. And that's what he talks about, trying not to move his body or his head too much. Picks the foot up and actually moves it back a little bit towards the back leg.
Well, maybe they can pitch around him for the entire series. That'd be one way. But Caminetti, he can hurt you. He hit the grand slam over the weekend for you. And that's right in.
A lot of pitchers work Bagwell away, as Smiley is doing here, and hopes that they can contain his power, but he can hit the ball out of any part of this ballpark. So you got to come in some.
So Bagwell walks, and Caminetti, the third baseman, now comes up.
See, Bagwell is a very smart player, too. He has walked 53 times now this year. He's in the top 10 in that department. He knows that a lot of times the pitchers aren't going to give him anything to hit. And he's got enough confidence in his teammates to take the walk and let them try to bring him around. As a result, he also leads the league in runs scored.
What's interesting, you were telling me earlier that he's one of the better base runners on the Houston team also.
Yet he will take advantage of a pitcher who's not paying attention. He's stolen 13 bases in 16 tries. 3 times he's stolen standing up. He's had such a good jump.
There he goes on the first pitch, the throw, and not in time. Jeff Bagwell steals second base and puts himself into scoring position with 2 out in the first inning. So not only does he do the big things, but here it is the little thing.
And when you put the big things together with the little things, you could say he does everything.
He would be a runaway winner if they voted for the MVP player in the National League right now. I'm sure there are some Matt Williams fans out there who are saying hold on, but Bagwell's entire season, when you put down everything, is just fabulous. Now with a man in scoring position on that outside corner, Smiley painted it perfectly, didn't he?
Most left-handers have to learn to master the outside corner. Left-handed starters particularly, because they are going to face 6 or 7 or 8 right-handed batters every time they go out there.
They want to come inside now. Down a little bit too low on the breaking ball.
That steal for Bagwell, by the way, was a new career high, his 14th. He's setting career highs in virtually every department this season.
Just missing a little bit low. So after the walk to Bagwell, Smiley falls behind 3-1 here.
Doesn't get much easier with Kevin Bass on deck.
2-out walk. Bagwell then steals second. And now it is 3-1 to Caminetti. And 2 men on as a result of walks, and here he comes, Kevin Bass.
But this probably tells you a little bit about Smiley. The fact that he would walk 2 batters here. One, that he may be a little bit pumped up for this game because of its importance. Sometimes you overthrow a little bit when you're keyed up. The other thing is a lot of respect for the Astros. He is not a wild pitcher. He's only walked 28 batters this year in 135 innings. But he's walked 2 in this inning.
You know, a few years ago, Larry, as a starter for Pittsburgh in that National League Championship Series against Atlanta, he had difficulty in the early innings. He tends to be somewhat emotional in a big game, and Bass fouls one away and out of play. And of course, you know, as a pitcher, you've got to conquer your emotions in a big game. That becomes so important.
Yeah, it's the most difficult thing about pitching, because you know that you, among all the players on the field, are critical. That you have almost everything to do with half of your team's game, and that's the half that stops the other team from scoring. And so there's a lot of responsibility there, and if you let yourself get too pumped up, a lot of times your pitches will ride high. You'll overthrow your breaking pitches, and they'll flatten out.
0-1. Slam just fair down the third base line. This will score Bagwell from second base. So with 2 out, the Astros score on Bass's double.
Wasn't much, just rolled it down the line, but he was able to take advantage of the fact that Fernandez was playing way off the line. You could see that Tony had a very good jump. Perhaps he could have hit the turf on that one to try to prevent it from getting down the line and maybe keep Bagwell from scoring, but he wasn't going to throw anybody out, that's for sure. Bass has his 14th double and 30th RBI.
So 2 out on 2 routine ground balls, and then Bagwell and Caminetti walk. Bass doubles just inside the line into left field. It is 1-0, and here comes Luis Gonzalez, the left fielder for the Astros.
Gonzalez has been a good second-half player in his career, and he's starting to hit again this year.
Good pitch by Smiley. He has to be very disappointed with the turn of events here in the opening inning of a big series. The one thing you want to try to do, especially if you're the road team, and Houston has accomplished that, jump ahead. Ground ball to Morris, backs up. Smiley covers, and the Astros are retired, but not before they score 1 run on Kevin Bass's double. 1-0, the Astros lead, with the Reds coming to bat here against Greg Swindell. A couple of years ago was pitching right here in Cincinnati. He since has gone back down to Texas. He was a standout pitcher at the University of Texas before signing. He and Smiley have had somewhat parallel careers as left-handers. Spent 8 years in the major leagues, and this is the lineup that he will look at tonight. Deion Sanders is not in the lineup, bruised right heel. They don't want to bring him in against a tough left-handed pitcher. He is available. He was out, and he can play if they need him tonight, but Brumfield's back in center field. Tony Fernandez at third, Larkin, Mitchell, Reggie Sanders, Morris, Brett Boone, Brian Dorsett, and of course John Smiley, who was the starting pitcher. And here's their defense, Larry.
The defense for the Astros has been excellent this year, running second in the league to the Giants in team fielding percentage. And it's pretty amazing because 3 of the players, Bagwell, Biggio, and Gonzalez, and I would say 3 of the best defensive players on the field tonight, have been converted from other positions. Bagwell and Gonzalez were chased off third by Caminetti, and Biggio moved from behind the plate to second base. Well, Bagwell has scored another run already. He leads the league in that department. Now has 89, and he is a very good defensive first baseman in addition to all the other things.
Here comes Jacob Brumfield. With Sanders out, he's waved a pretty hot bat. The Reds as of late got a chance in right field yesterday and was shut down.
He's been especially tough in this ballpark.
Swindell starts out with a called strike.
See what he's done since the All-Star break, and actually that goes back to a game just slightly before that when the Reds played the Astros.
All the way.
Rumfield was on second base in a tight game late in the game. He tried to steal third with nobody out and was thrown out, and the Astros ended up winning that game. And afterwards there was some talk about sending him down. Davey Johnson stuck up for him, and since then he's played a lot better. Johnson, a very steady influence in the dugout. In my opinion, one of the best of the modern managers. The job that he did with the New York Mets, I think, was really underrated. Everybody talked about how good his players were, but a lot of players are good, and a lot of managers don't win like he has.
Yeah, that is for sure. And the Mets, you may have noticed, have not fared as well without Davey Johnson in the dugout.
I would go so far as to say that he's the best major league manager in history, at least since they've been giving out the award, that has not won a Manager of the Year award.
That was a fate that used to befall Tom Landry, the coach down in Dallas. They never made him the coach of the year. He was the best coach in the NFL who never won that award.
It's not always easy to manage talented players, to get them all to become team players. In fact, it's usually hard to do that. Johnson did a wonderful job of that with the Mets.
And this franchise has turned around this year. A bit of a disaster a year ago, wasn't it? There's a ball up high, and it's 1-2 the count to the leadoff hitter for the Reds. Cincinnati trailing by 1.
Davey Johnson, kind of a computer type mind. He was a math major. He's an Aggie, Texas A&M.
Now 2-2.
See that pitch tail away a little bit. That's a pitch that Swindell came up with in his last start, a two-seam sinking type fastball.
Hit high in the air to left field. And the play is made by Gonzalez for the first out. Baseball Night in America is brought to you by Chevrolet. The cars and trucks 36 million people depend on every day. Genuine Chevrolet. MCI, the company that brings you proof positive. And Olive Garden, where Freshissimo promises delicious new Italian dishes made with the season's freshest ingredients.
Whoa.
That's for you, Mr.
Makes me hungry just to think about it.
So now with one out, here's Tony Fernandez, the third baseman, fouling one back.
Fernandez was always a real thorn in the Astros' side when he played with the Padres. They've handled him a little bit better this year. And he's a guy that's been a part of a lot of championship teams, and I think he may be very important to the Reds as they move on into the late stages of this season. There was some talk at first that he might want to be traded. He was not happy playing third base.
Founder to right field. Cincinnati's first hit of the game. Tony Fernandez is on with Barry Larkin coming up.
Fernandez apparently signed a contract with the Reds that had a clause that guaranteed him somewhere in the neighborhood of $500,000 more if he was traded to another team. And so you can see why he wanted to be traded earlier in the year. And he was playing like gangbusters then, and he's still playing pretty well. I don't know if he really wants to be traded now, though, because he's part of a championship situation, or at least the potential of that situation.
We'll see how aggressive, Larry, Davey Johnson wants to be in the early going, trailing by a run. Fernandez on, and here's Barry Larkin, who's pretty handy with the bat. And Swindell mindful of the speed at first base.
He's picked off a lot of runners this year, 6 or 7, and he's very attentive to runners. So that doesn't mean you can't steal on him, because he has the high leg kick. If you time him right, you can steal on him easily, but if you read him wrong, he'll pick you off.
Right there. DeMuth behind the plate. Hallian's the umpire at first, Lane at second, and Fernandez down the line at third base.
As you can see, Larkin had a terrible start this year, and his power numbers are down overall. He's a very good clutch hitter. He's probably the last guy you'd want up there with a winning run on second base and 2 outs in an inning.
Took something off it and bounced it into the dirt. Eusebio. How's he defensively, Larry, behind the plate?
He's pretty good catching the ball. He's still learning the hitters around the league. He is a rookie. And he stayed down with that one in the dirt to prevent Fernandez from moving up. He throws a little bit better than Scott Service, the Astros' other catcher. And he's basically caught Swindell all year long.
Counts 1-1.
I guess the Greg has maybe thrown 1 or 2 games to Scott Service, but most of the time when he's pitching, Eusebio is catching. Tony made the team out of spring training by just having a fabulous exhibition season. He was not expected to be on this ball club. You get the idea that maybe Fernandez has got larceny on his mind?
Well, they might start him in even a little hit and run. Davy Johnson here in the early going, trailing by a run, might want to try to.
Swindell used to be a strikeout pitcher. He's lost a little bit of the hop on that fastball. And so now he may be the kind of guy you would like to hit and run against. He throws a lot of strikes, and you can usually make contact.
Well, Fernandez certainly has his attention. A smile on his face now as he steps away.
Which one is the cat and which one the mouse?
Exactly. 1-1.
Now you got a 2-1 count, a better count for a runner because it's unlikely the Astros would pitch out. Fernandez has not been a great base stealer this year. He's got 9 steals, but he's been thrown out 7 times. So I think a hit and run is more likely than a straight steal.
Line drive left field. Gonzalez has it timed. And there are 2 away with Fernandez retreating to first.
And here comes the big boy.
Kevin Mitchell will take dead aim at a 2-run shot if he can get his pitch here. 61 RBIs already with 24 home runs, and injuries again have plagued his season.
Second to Jeff Bagwell in the league in slugging percentage. He's running behind Bagwell, I think 5th in the league in on-base percentage. So he's the same type of hitter, but he just isn't able to play as many games. Certainly not the defensive player, not the base stealer, not the total package that Bagwell is at this stage. But in terms of a hitter, he's about as good as you will find in this league.
Well, the crowd anticipating and hoping. Swindell down on the counter ball. Up high, and Mitchell launches it. Out of here, a 2-run shot. Swindell gets one up high, and Kevin makes him pay.
Mitchell launches his 25th homer of the year. Now has 63 RBIs and puts the Reds back on top. That was not a good pitch. And that man will make you pay.
Towering shot down the left field line. Kevin Mitchell doing what he's paid to do, deliver the long ball here from Cincinnati, and the Reds jump ahead 2-1, and now it's Reggie Sanders, the right fielder.
See, he's had some sore ribs, Brent, and you know, if his ribs had been feeling a little better, he'd hit that up in the second deck instead of just hitting it in the first deck. Here's a dynamic player, Reggie Sanders. Great power, great speed.
Great stop by Caminetti. Up and throwing, but it's down the line and away from Bagwell, who's got a chance at him. And he'll have to retreat now. The catcher, Eusebio, hustles and makes the tag.
Nice play there.
Play defensively, and give Eusebio a lot of credit for hustling down the line to cover the bag. Bagwell quickly retrieved it and set up the putout. But it's 2-1 on Kevin Mitchell's home run. For the bad throw, this was a defensive clinic all the way around.
And the bad throw, a result of Reggie Sanders' speed as Caminetti tried to hurry it. Bagwell, an extemporaneous move, throwing off the wrong foot. Cedeno does the same thing because he didn't have time to get set. Both throws were adequate. Tony Eusebio right there for the tag.
You know, for young catchers, there's an example of why the managers and the coaches tell the catcher to get down and cover. Hustle paid off, didn't it?
Yes, it did.
Foul back now. The lead. Here he is. Tony Eusebio, number 20. How about this young man, Larry?
Hit about 500 this spring in Kissimmee. He was out of options. The Astros had a dilemma. They kept Eusebio. They kept Taubensee. They kept Service. But they really didn't feel comfortable with 3 catchers, and they ended up trading Taubensee to the Cincinnati Reds. So Eusebio just virtually forced his way onto this team and forced Taubensee off the team, really.
Here he is, 0-2. Dorsett sets up outside. They waste one on the 0-2 pitch. Larry, what was your feeling on the 0-2 pitch? Would you always waste one on a hitter, or would you try to sneak one in sometimes?
No, I wouldn't waste one that often. If I thought the guy would swing at it, I would.
Down low, and it's 2-2 now.
And my feeling would be, as he throws that ball in the dirt, that if the guy is a wild swinger, throw one in the dirt and see if he'll swing. If he's got a good eye, try to put him away.
Flash foul and hard down toward the
there was a time,
dugout.
Brent, when Leo DeRocher had a fine for Cubs pitchers who gave up base hits on 0-2, and everyone in the league knew about it. So you get 0-2, and you just stand there. The ball hit Johnny Ruffin in the dugout there. Ruffin,
maybe he wants
if he did, it's in the left shoulder. Hey, you're right-handed.
2-2. Eusebio runs it full now.
At any rate, all the hitters in the league knew that they weren't going to get a strike from the Cubs on an 0-2 pitch, and a lot of times the pitchers would throw it in the dirt and runners would steal.
Ground ball up the middle. Larkin lets it get away from him and boots it.
Hey, take a picture of that. You won't see it very often. 2 big hops, about as easy a play as a shortstop could make. I would venture to say most high school shortstops would make that play. And Larkin himself does not know how he missed it.
And Andahar Cedeno steps to the plate with Eusebio, the tying run.
Isn't that amazing?
It really is.
The guy is, I mean, if Ozzie Smith were not in this league, everyone would talk about Barry Larkin in the same terms that they talk about Ozzie Smith. Fabulous fielder.
There's a strike called. You know, Larry, one of the differences between the American and the National League, and we have a lot of fans in Cleveland watching tonight, and up there when the Indians play, they have the designated hitter. I always think that the bottom part of that lineup, you play the game entirely differently. Here you are down by a run. Your pitcher is due up next. There was no question what you were going to do here, and it goes into the gap. Fielded on one hop out there in left field by Mitchell, and pulling up at third base is Eusebio.
No, that's right. You really, as you get to the end of the lineup, you have to consider what the pitcher's going to do. In this situation with Swindell up there, about the only option other than hit away is squeeze, and with no outs, you probably don't squeeze because there's no double play in the offing for the Reds. So Cedeno lines one into the gap. They've changed his stroke and shortened it, and he's been hitting a lot better the last couple of weeks. We'll talk about that next time he comes up because they've really made a drastic change in his bat position, and it's helped him. Now Swindell, who has been a pretty good hitter, .216 on the year, has a chance to help himself.
Larkin and Boone are back in the middle of the infield after the time being, Fernandez and Morris are also playing straight up here and not expecting anything to be on. It's 1 ball to count. Swindell looks down now to third base for a possible sign, seeing if Collins wants to put something on.
They're back so far. He could try to bunt for a hit and get a fast runner in from third, but I don't think he can get Eusebio in. What you're really trying to do here is hit the ball and preferably hit it back up the middle somewhere, because anything on the ground up toward the middle of the field is going to produce a run.
Well, if they don't get a strikeout, Davy Johnson may be counting on a hard hit ground ball where Eusebio couldn't score anyway. If they don't get
have to be to third or first or back to the mound.
Right.
Swindell seemed mystified by that pitch. Curveball, Greg. Just an old-fashioned curveball.
Where's that pitch? Fouls this one back. 1-2.
Sort of an unusual combination. The guy that throws left-handed and bats right-handed. Swindell's been a terrific bunter this year. He's got 11 sacrifice bunts. He's one of the top bunters in the league this year. For a guy his size, he has almost no power. And he's hit some balls really well. He's hit a couple of doubles, but very unlikely that he could reach the fence in this park or any other.
Ground ball to Fernandez. Eusebio cannot score. And Swindell is retired third to first. Well, now it's time for tonight's Toyota Diamond Dust baseball fact. There are 25 players who have hit 400-plus home runs in the major leagues. Which 3 players in major league history hit 400-plus home runs over any 10-year span? My friend Mr. Dierker came up with 2 of the 3. Now you see how many you come up with. And at the bottom of the inning, we'll give you the answer.
Well, we didn't have that much time.
I had the clock.
We could go look at our record books if we had that much time.
Ground ball. Fernandez cannot backhand it. This is going to score 2 runs. And Houston regains the lead 3-2 on the double into the left field corner by Craig Biggio.
Biggio, who has been leading the league in doubles or running second just about all year long, picks up yet another. And that is his 37th double of the year.
So the error by Larkin results in 1 of the runs scoring. Cedeno's double, and certainly he would have scored anyway on the hit by Biggio. The Astros have scored in each of the first 2 innings, and they lead it 3-2. What else?
Kind of interesting. We start off with 0. The Astros score. The Reds come up. They answer. The Astros come back up. They answer. This could be a high-scoring game.
That's right. I was about to say there are more runs scored with the DH, but I better keep my mouth shut.
Now, Biggio likes to steal third, but it's not likely that he'll try it in this situation. I say that because with Finley up there, Dorsett's got a clean shot for the throw. He might try it if he gets a real good jump. But of course, with 1 out, that's the time when you normally think about it.
Larkin's bluffing in a step, and now Smiley steps off, and so they're aware of that tendency. Biggio is looking down to see how alert Fernandez is. That's the guy that you trap in that play sometimes. If you catch a third baseman wandering mentally and he doesn't get over there quite quickly enough, you can steal it, can't you? Now Smiley again.
Well, and that's another reason that you steal it with a strong right-handed hitter up there, because let's say Bagwell was up there. Let's say Finley walks. Now you got 2 fast runners on, and you got Bagwell up there, and the pitcher's definitely distracted by Bagwell, and the third baseman's playing deep.
At Larkin. Biggio moves to third on the infield out.
Now, what do you think the Reds will do here? It's very early in the game to be intentionally walking anyone.
He has been so hot, you would at least consider it.
I would.
If you don't walk him, you might pitch around him, Larry.
I would do it not necessarily because of how hot Bagwell is, but because of what Caminetti has done against Smiley. 4 out of 27 lifetime. Right. So because Smiley feels he can get him out, then I would say go after the guy you know you can get.
Very good.
But on the other hand, you might just go out and ask him.
So he wants.
I mean, it's not at a stage where you've got anyone warming up or you have to worry about taking him out. Just say, which guy do you want? He's a veteran. I wouldn't ask a rookie what he wanted to do, but with a guy like Smiley, I might consider it.
He's out ahead of Bagwell. 0-1 now. Open-looking stance. Ooh, that was a pitcher's strike right there. Right? Bagwell not sure of it.
Yeah, cutting across. He thought maybe it was a little inside. It's a pitch he'll have to deal with 2 strikes in the count, but not one he wants to hit until he has to. Well, Smiley pitched him away the entire at bat the first time around, so he was probably looking out there.
Well, they're setting up on the inside.
Yeah, you can see he was looking out there again. You see, this situation doesn't call for a home run. Bagwell hits to right a lot. He hits home runs to right, but he also gets a lot of hits up the middle and line drives into right field. And he knows that a single's as good as a double or a triple right here. All he wants to do is get Biggio home.
Smiley steps away. Now Dorsett reflashes the sign at him, and this time Smiley acknowledges, and here he comes.
He's trying to go away again. Bagwell has a way of just flicking that bat out. And you would think with the open stance that he might have trouble covering the outside corner. But Astros batting coach Ben Hines is quick to point out that he keeps his hips in so well, a lot like Roberto Clemente used to do. You'd see him so open and you'd say we can go away, but the hips tell the story.
Smiley ready, and it's fouled back. Pitching coach Don Gullett of the Reds said, yeah, we've got a plan for Bagwell, but the key thing is whether or not we can execute. He said you can have the greatest plan in the world, but he said I'm just not sure that we'll be able to pull it off against him. Gullett very concerned not only about Bagwell, but this entire offensive team that Houston has put together here. Down low with the breaking ball.
A lot of times you have a general plan, and that plan will allow for a few mistakes because hitters aren't perfect. So the pitchers aren't perfect either. So you make a couple of mistakes, get away with them, and you get to the pitch you want and get the out. But with Bagwell and Biggio and some of these other guys, you don't get that luxury.
2-2, line drive, center field, base hit Bagwell, and another RBI.
99.
It is 4-2.
Wonder if that was part of the plan. Pass ball on the outside corner. Whack. You can see how still he was. It talks about keeping his body still, not moving very much.
Now that error by Larkin really looms costly because 2 of the runs have come across as a result. This side would have been out and he fielded the ground ball. So they would have given up the tying run, but as a result, the Astros put it to good use, and they lead it 4-2, having scored 1 in the first, 3 here in the second inning on a rare error on an easy bouncing ball by Larkin. Now Caminetti. High in the air to right field. Sanders puts it away and decides retired. But Houston jumps ahead 4-2, scoring 3 runs in the second. In 4 runs on 4 hits. And Cincinnati, a couple of runs on 3 hits. And the game's only error was a costly one with 2 unearned runs. Scoring for Houston in the top of the second. Bottom of the second now, and it'll be Hal Morris, Brett Boone, and Brian Dorsett coming up for the Reds.
Morris, a real fine hitter. He does not hit with quite the power you might think because he's a big guy, 9 homers, but he hits for high averages. The kind of hitter that dives in toward home plate, and for that reason he hits the ball mostly from right center field around toward left.
Line drive into left field, base hit for Morris, starting the bottom of the second. Well, remember the quiz now? There are 25 players who've hit 400-plus home runs in the major leagues, and which 3 players in history hit 400-plus home runs over any 10-year span? And here's the answer for the Toyota Diamond Dust baseball fan. You knew it all along, didn't you? There's Babe Ruth, Jimmy Fox, Double X, and Harmon Killebrew was the only one. How could you forget Harmon, Larry?
Well, he's over in that other league.
Didn't he ever touch you up in spring training?
Well, he sure did, because they were in Orlando and we were in Cocoa, and he touched me up several times.
Now here comes Brett Boone.
An interesting thing about talking about Jimmy Fox and Babe Ruth is the type of season that Frank Thomas is having this year and Jeff Bagwell is having. It really goes back to the kind of numbers that those 2 big hitters were posting back in the 20s and 30s.
High pop, and it's going to go out of play behind home plate here. Crowd probably held down somewhat this evening by that late afternoon thunderstorm which ripped through the area.
It was really a downpour. Came through for about an hour and went away and left us with a nice evening.
Houston denied batting practice, but they've been having it against pitching for the last 2 weeks. Live pitching. They didn't need it. Now Swindell into the stretch. Goes back on over to first base, and Morris steps in. You know, Hal Morris is one of the outstanding players who've never played in an all-star game. It's kind of interesting. That group includes Wally Joyner, Kirk Gibson, Otis Nixon, Tony Phillips. You would think that somewhere along the line that
how about
Morris,
Doug Graven? Would you believe that this is the first all-star team he's made?
Right, but he's made one.
Yeah.
Morris never been there.
Right. It's you know, it happens this year. So many first basemen are having good years. Greg Jeffries got voted the starter, and that kept guys like Morris from making the team. And Jeffries probably didn't even deserve to be on it this year. Certainly did last year.
1-1 outside. Low.
Galarraga didn't make the team. Look where he is among the league leaders.
What an amazing transformation he went through out in Colorado. A lot of folks thought his career was over, and he's been one of the most feared hitters in Major League Baseball over the last season and a half. And how about the crowds that show up to watch the Rockies? 70,000 every time out. 2-1 now.
Oh boy, this guy really turns it loose. You know, he looks a lot like his dad. He's not quite as big a man, but he takes a much stronger swing. Bob Boone had some power, but he was not a power hitter. He sprayed the ball all over the place and actually would choke up on the bat, punch the ball around. This guy gets down on the very end and he lets it fly.
Two out of play. You know, we had a quick shot of Bob Boone over there on the Cincinnati bench. This is some all-star coaching staff that Mr. Davy Johnson has put together. Ray Knight coaches at third base. Joel Youngblood at first base. Don Gullett's the pitching coach. Bob Boone works there on the bench, and I dare say that a couple of them certainly are going to be major league managers someday. Knight and Boone would be the 2 that you would immediately pick out. Into right field as he reached out, popped that one up to the first out.
Brent, can you imagine the emotions that Bob Boone went through this winter when during the period of about a month he was the final candidate for the Astros managerial job, his first chance to manage in the big leagues, and then found out he wasn't going to get it, and then a couple of weeks later found out that he was going to be a coach with the Reds, and then his son gets traded to the Reds, and now he's coaching for the same team his son's playing on. I mean, all those things happen to you in about a month.
Our Cleveland fans remember outstanding Ray Boone, outstanding shortstop with some great Cleveland Indian teams. That is so refreshing to see that franchise come back and have a summer. And I was talking to some American League umpires, Larry, and they think that Jacobs Field is the finest ballpark in the American League. They actually rate it a little bit ahead of Camden Yards, which of course is a jewel in Baltimore. But
who rated that? The umpires?
Yeah, they say it's just a
wonderful
wonderful
place. Have a nice
place.
lunchroom there.
High in the air to center field. This should be the second out. Brian Dorsett. Folks, you know that that Larry Dierker was a pitcher, right? Jumps all over my buddies, the umps, because they're getting a few free sandwiches up there at Jacobs Field. Wouldn't you know it? I mean, there he is.
Well, see, I don't have to pitch anymore, see? I had nothing but nice things to say about him when I was pitching.
You know, it's been a great year for baseball in the state of Ohio. When you think about it, a resurgence here by the Reds. The Indians are back.
Tremendous. And all kidding aside, the new ballparks are terrific. I'm really looking forward to Coors Field in Denver, because now the National League will have one of the American League type new stadiums.
Strike to Smiley. Who has the best food for the announcers, Larry, in the National League? We were talking about
Think about
Reds.
that for a while.
That's how much improvement they've shown this year.
Reds, Indians, and Mets. The Mets have really been surprising. I knew the Indians were going to have a good club. I didn't know they'd be that good, but we played them a lot in spring training. And they were doing to our pitchers what they've been doing to American League pitchers. And it was not a pretty sight from an Astros perspective, but it was certainly enough to make an impression. We knew they would score runs.
Greg Swindell with a 1-1 count on his counterpart John Smiley, who swings through that one for strike 2. So Swindell is 1 strike away of putting the first scoreless half inning on the scoreboard here in Riverfront Stadium tonight. Beautiful night for baseball. The first of a 3-game series. Could be very critical with the possibility of a strike looming. You would think they would go back to the standings at the end of the strike if they go all the way to the playoffs. Let's hope we don't have that eventuality, but it could come to pass as Smiley hits one into left field. Gonzalez has got it, and that's the inning. So Cincinnati wastes a leadoff single by Hal Morris. They trail it 4-2. You can't beat baseball night in America. John Saunders, a lot going on tonight, big fella. What's happening?
Well, Brent, you know, you're on top of the race in the Central. In the East, the Expos and the Braves going head-to-head. That's Ryan Klesko, Pedro Martinez in the second, and then Terry Pendleton. First game after missing 30 on the DL. The pitch is up. It's a breaking ball that hangs in. He turns it into a home run. 3-0 the Braves on top of Montreal. They started the night a game and a half back. The Cubs and the Pirates in the 3rd inning. This is Denny Nagel with Lance Parrish aboard. His first career home run as it just sneaks over the wall. And the Pirates jump on top of the Cubs 3-0. We'll keep you updated. Back to Brent and Larry.
All right, John, thank you very much. Pendleton, Larry, could be the heart and soul that's been missing from the Braves here the last couple of weeks, as Kevin Bass is the hitter now for Houston.
I think you're right, and in many ways Ken Caminetti is the same way for the Astros. It's not so much that he's their best player, but just that he's a good player who's been around a long time and plays hard and sort of sets an example, if you will, that the other players can rally around. I think Pendleton is that type of player for the Braves, and I know they're glad to have him back.
Well, it's 1-2 the count. John Smiley, starting pitcher for Cincinnati, out there, bounces one to Dorsett. Houston leading 4-2. The Astros scored a single in the first inning and 3 in the second inning after a costly error by Barry Larkin at shortstop. Jeff Bagwell has scored 2 runs, stolen a base, and driven in a run here tonight, so he is continuing his MVP season for the Houston Astros. 2-2.
Well, you talk about the error in the last inning, and certainly it ended up costing the Reds a couple of runs, but it was made on Eusebio, the first hitter, and the 8th hitter in the lineup. And I'm sure John Smiley would be the first one to tell you, hey, I got to pitch around some errors. Look at all the plays Barry Larkin makes for me on the mistakes I've made when he makes a great play. And I'm sure he would take a lot of responsibility for what came after.
High fly into right field. Sanders makes the first out. Baseball Night in America is brought to you by Bud Light. If you want great taste that won't fill you up and never let you down, make it a Bud Light. Buick and your local Buick dealers. Remember Buick, the new symbol for quality in America. And The Little Rascals from Universal Pictures. The comedy that proves big fun comes in small packages. I know you'll be checking out The Little Rascals.
Oh, I'm ready for that.
Yes, sir. See a lot of movies on those road trips. Right down the middle.
I like the alfalfa.
I think everybody did. He was the favorite. So with one out here in the top of the third, Gonzalez, who grounded out the first inning, takes the ball outside. Gonzalez is one of those players who has tended to come on in the second half. Wasn't I reading that, Larry, that he looks forward to the All-Star break and tends to heat up?
He's been a good second-half player throughout his career. He's had some good spurts in the first half, both this year and in years past, but he's been much more consistent in the second.
Goes the opposite way, and Kevin Mitchell on the run.
Hey, remember that? He caught it with his glove.
He could have used his bare hand. Remember that great barehanded catch he made with the San Francisco Giants that time?
You could see him reaching around and grabbing his ribs, too. I don't know if he strained himself reaching back across. He's not in there for the glove work, but he can definitely do it on the routine play.
And tonight he has smacked his 25th home run of the season. That came in the first inning, putting the Reds ahead 2-1, and Houston coming back in the top of the second. This is the top of the third. Tony Eusebio, who started the 3-run rally off with that error, and later came around and scored on Craig Biggio's 2-run double down into the left field corner. A little low. Smiley looking in now, Dorsett. And there's a foul. Well, no sooner do we mention it, and look what pops up, Mr. Dierker.
Ozzie Smith with an opposite field shot. Kevin Mitchell overruns it. No! He reaches back with a bare hand. That's the way it went for the Giants that year. They couldn't do anything wrong, and Mitchell was the MVP of the league.
You never see that too many times, do you? 1-1. Down to third. Fernandez will have to hurry now and throw across his body. Not in time. Eusebio with an infield single.
Well, it doesn't seem like much at this time. Fernandez made a nice play to make it close. But that hustle down the line by Eusebio may pay a dividend for the Astros in this inning or the next. Now you get Cedeno up. If he can reach, you get by the pitcher in this inning. Morris looking for a call that wasn't there.
And Cedeno found the gap in left center field back in the second inning with a double, and he too scored on Biggio's hit.
If Cedeno was able to get one in the gap this time, they'll try to score Eusebio because there's 2 outs and the pitcher's coming up. You notice Cedeno holding the bat behind his neck now. He had a tendency to point the back toward the pitcher, a lot like Gary Sheffield, but he wasn't getting it back around like Sheffield. And they wanted to shorten his stroke, so they got the bat back behind his head now. But he can't wrap it quite as much starting it behind his neck as he could starting it in front of his chest. And that's the accommodation they have made for him, and he's certainly been willing to try it, and he's gotten good results.
See how his wrist roll over, chokes up just a little bit, spread out, and there's what Larry was telling you about with the bat. Slashes foul down the right field line.
He has enormous power. Like Bagwell, he could hit the ball out of any part of this ballpark. He hit one up into the Loge level of the Astrodome in left center field. It's the first player ever to do that in the history of the Astrodome.
I love that I asked you, was it all related? And you said, you're not related to either one of them.
Not related to Joaquin Andujar, not related to Cesar Cedeno, and not a thing like either one of them in terms of personality.
1-2, got him. Well, that's the pitch. DeMuth has been consistent on that. At the knees and on the corner. And this time, Houston doesn't score. To Houston here. We've heard about the Braves and the Expos. John Saunders, what else you got for us?
All right, Brent, we're going to update the White Sox and the Royals. Tim Raines at the plate. He just rips this one into the corner in right field. But the ball, watch, gets stuck out there, and Raines sees that and takes off for third. He's in with a triple. Frank Thomas then came up, brings him home with a sacrifice fly. Chicago on top of the Royals. 1-0 to score is in the 4th inning. The Twins and the Rangers. Derek Parks at the plate for the Twins. The hot shot goes down to third as it's a little slow roller. Strange comes up, grabs it, and throws it. Safe at first. Leyes comes in to score, and the Twins have a 2-0 lead. Play is in the 4th inning. Right now, Brent, let's go back to you.
All right, John, thank you very much. Here, Jacob Brumfield leading off for Cincinnati in the bottom of the 3rd. Fouls one back, and the count is 1-1. Indian fans, of course, are keeping a very close eye on that White Sox-Kansas City game. Cleveland trails by 2, but only 1 there in that loss column as we come down to what could be some very critical days in this baseball season. Line drive, left field, and it bounces past Gonzalez. And Brumfield will pull up at second base.
Since the All-Star break, he's been an absolute terror. This time he goes down and gets a breaking pitch around the knees. And he rips it into left. The outfield, as you could see, is still a little wet from the earlier rain. And that ball just skipped by Gonzalez. And Brumfield has a double.
Tony Fernandez, 1 for 1 on the night, a single and a run scored for Cincinnati. Steps up now. Here's one of the Reds' 5 hits here tonight. The hits are all even at 5 apiece. That was a double for Brumfield, opening up the inning. So the 2, 3, and 4 hitters now, and you know who number 4 is for Cincinnati, big Kevin Mitchell. So Swindell looking at a possible threat right now as far as the Reds are concerned here in the bottom of the 3rd inning. Looks back at Brumfield.
It's an interesting situation. Typically, you try to move the runner from 2nd to 3rd by hitting to the right side of the field and hope you can hit one through and get a hit. But I'm not so sure that little ball applies that well this year.
Big hole if he can pull it, but he does go to the second base side. Biggio throws him out, but Brumfield moves to 3rd.
And I'm not so sure that's really a smart play. Certainly, if you get a pitch you can drive and you have a chance to go for the hit primarily and move the runner as a secondary motive.
Well, it's 4-2 here in the battle in the Central Division in the National League. And it is 3-1. The Braves are leading in the East. And the Dodgers and the Giants.
Infield is back.
High fly deep to center field. Back goes Finley. Back toward the warning track. It's a sacrifice fly. And Larkin makes it a 1-run game.
You see, this is little ball at its finest. You get a double, you move him with a grounder and move him in with a fly ball. But it's only the 3rd run, and the Astros have 4. Certainly, you will take runs any way you can get them, and it's early, and they have plenty of chance to score more later in this game. But you're also going right through the middle of your lineup. Well, I'm not sure that it's really that smart anymore in this day and age, especially the way Smiley and Swindell appear to be throwing, to try to play for 1 run.
Kevin Mitchell, who homered in the 1st inning, now steps in without anybody aboard and takes ball 1 from Swindell.
And now you can pitch around him if you want.
They don't, and they pay for it. 2 at-bats and 2 home runs for Kevin Mitchell.
And that is not little ball.
Kevin Mitchell, certainly the offensive key to the Cincinnati Reds, with home run number 26, and now he has 64 RBIs. Just listen to the power.
No. I've heard that sound too many times from 60 feet 6 inches.
A wild one unfolding here in Cincinnati tonight in the National League Central Division. Just the kind of game you would expect as the pennant race grows hotter and hotter with the possibility of a strike looming, and these two teams running 1 and 2 in the Central Division. Sanders takes a ball inside.
Ryan Williams, the right-hander, starting to tune up in the Astros bullpen. Swindell scheduled to lead off.
There's the strike. There's Williams. Swindell rushed a little bit on that, probably unsettled a lot by Kevin Mitchell's 2 home runs here against him tonight. Something off on that, and Sanders couldn't do much with it. Well, here's where the Reds, it's hard to imagine, isn't it, Larry, a team this time of the year still batting .290, and they've scored more runs than anybody in the National League, more hits, everything coming up for Cincinnati.
Now, the Astros are not second in every one of those departments, but they're close, and they're only 5 runs behind the Reds in total runs. They've played 2 fewer ball games, but they've been a similar offensive team. That .290 team batting average is really eye-popping.
Check swing off Swindell, and it's going to be a base hit. Sanders' second single of the night, and Joel Youngblood whispering something in his ear, and Mel Stottlemyre. You're wondering what that's dangling. When you were pitching, did your pitching coach used to have a stopwatch to check you on the time and how long it took you to deliver the ball?
No. We never heard about the release times too much. I mean, they said be quick to the plate, be quick to first, but they didn't time you. Of course, they never had radar guns either.
They never knew how hard you threw. You threw pretty well, and how you used to throw 7 or 8 innings every time you went out there. Now, you know, they look for 5, 6.
It's a different type of game. There weren't as many good relief pitchers back then. I mean, you'd look down in the bullpen a lot of times, and that would be all the motivation you'd need to go a couple of more innings.
You weren't pocketing the kind of change that the starters are today, too, Larry. Right?
Had to come up to the booth to get that really big money.
That's right. Well, now with 2 out, game tied at 4, Sanders on, and here is Hal Morris.
Sanders had a big lead, and Swindell checks him. He is really fast. He's still not as adept a base stealer as he will become. 19 steals and 7 caught.
Foot off on that carpet with 2 out. May challenge them. Let's see. Down low. Yeah, it's interesting. Kenny Fouts, our director, remembers the days when Joe Morgan was here, and he used to put his foot on that carpet.
Yeah, that's
and that was indication he's going. Up high.
You have to put your foot on the carpet every time. You want to be a base stealer. That's basically the line of demarcation. Now, there's some guys like Lou Brock who could steal with a smaller lead, but most base stealers need to get 1 foot on the turf. And if you don't do it every time, why, then when you do it, they know you're going. So you have to do it even when you're not going.
Larry, Lou Brock was amazing. Just take a couple of steps and he'd be gone. Line drive into right field and toward the gap. Ground rule double.
Boy,
and the Astros get a break. Reggie Sanders would have scored easily if that ball had hit the wall. Instead, it bounds over for a ground rule double and a huge break here for Houston, and they'll take it. Thank you very much.
The Reds have made, and Terry Collins is going to come out and change pitchers now. Swindell, coming off 8 shutout innings, is obviously not the same pitcher he was last time. You know that he was out there trying to do everything he could because it's a very big series, but he just didn't have it. I'm not sure Smiley has it either, so we may be looking at a game that ends up in double digits for one of these 2 teams.
So Brian Williams comes in, and he will be the second. And a reminder now, Saturday, August 6th. That's the next baseball night in America. And it'll return right here as the Reds welcome the Braves to Riverfront Stadium. Now, others of you are going to see that duel between two of the league's home run leaders. Matt Williams and the Giants will take on Jeff Bagwell and these Houston Astros, or other regional action. So check your local listings for the game in your area. Saturday, August 6th, 8 Eastern, 7 Central, here on ABC. How are you fans enjoying? I guess we've only had, this is what, the third baseball night in America, but it's got to be fun to watch the team you're the most interested in and have all those updates come your way from John Saunders.
I think it's a great concept, Brent. You have games in the evening when everyone can watch. You can follow the pennant races as they unfold. You can watch the team you like best most of the time. I think it really answers a lot of the questions that fans have about baseball in terms of getting the kind of coverage they like.
I was talking to Jeff Bagwell, whom you introduced me to down in the Houston locker room, and I said, you know, I really like a realignment. He says, oh, I do too. I love it. I said, what do you like about it? He says, we got rid of Atlanta to San Francisco.
Yeah. No kidding. That was an immediate bonus for the Astros.
So there's Greg Swindell, and 2 of the 8 hits. Home runs, numbers 25 and 26 for Kevin Mitchell, who took yesterday off in Chicago. And what a dividend that has paid off for Davey Johnson here tonight. Resting Brett Boone, Reggie Sanders, Kevin Mitchell. And you know, it's interesting. Those of us who've never had the pleasure of playing Major League Baseball, we like to have a day off every now and then. Believe me, for any kind of a professional athlete, especially a baseball player, because I go every day, you're amazed how much it means to you mentally sometimes.
Mentally, more than physically usually. And of course, Mitchell's had a lot of physical injuries, but mentally, it can really be grind about this time of the year with all the hot weather. Just getting up for every game and getting out there.
Well, now we'll take a look at Brian Williams as he faces the second baseman Brett Boone, who flew out back in the second inning. Takes a ball for the first pitch. There are 2 out. Cincinnati Red runners on at second and third base after Hal Morris's double, ground rule double. Foul back now.
Brian Williams is a very talented young man, but he is not an experienced pitcher. He was drafted as a shortstop by the Pirates out of high school. He played all of the positions except for catcher and I think first base in college, and he did some pitching there. And he's pitched for about 3 or 4 years as a pro. He's got good stuff. Still needs to learn how to use it better.
1-2 now.
Very gifted athlete, though. He can run, he can hit, leap, very good fielder. The Astros think a lot of him, but his numbers are not all that good.
Well, a sacrifice fly by Barry Larkin and Kevin Mitchell's home run tie the score here in the bottom of the third, and now into right center field, and Cincinnati leads off the wall, and a 2-run double for Brett Boone. 6-4 Cincinnati.
It's inexperience showing there, and of course you've got the catcher too, but I mean, he's just thrown 2 balls right by Brett Boone, and so they changed to a breaking ball. If a guy's late on a fastball, it only stands to reason that he'd be about right for the breaking ball. Well, if you can throw it low and away, that's fine, but when you throw it right over the middle of the plate, you're doing him a favor.
And an intentional walk coming up here for Dorsett with John Smiley.
56 RBIs now for Brett Boone, batting over 300. Got 21 doubles, 2 triples, 8 homers. He has really given them a big boost for their offense, and coming out of a typically light hitting position, second base.
Dorsett trots to first, and now it'll be John Smiley coming to the plate.
Smiley's a pretty good hitter.
The way this one's going, baseball night in America will become baseball night in Cincinnati in a few hours. This one had the makings right from the beginning, didn't it?
Sure did. It still does, for that matter. You know, this game's not over yet.
I'd say.
That's a very powerful swing.
Breaking ball drops in, and it's 0-2 on Smiley. Well, the Cincinnati Reds turn a single, 3 doubles, and a home run into 4 runs. And we'll return with Baseball Night in America after this from our ABC stations. 6-4 Cincinnati. What a jewel Riverfront Stadium is, especially at night here along the banks of the Ohio River. And the first pitch is popped up to Sanders in right field by Brian Williams, and there's one away here to start the 4th inning. And we were laughing about this one not being over, certainly for a team which overcame an 11-run deficit. You would hardly put one away when they're only down by 2 runs. That must have been some rally for the Astros.
I saw that, and I'm still not sure I believe it. And we had that game on ABC. Oh, what a game that was.
There have been, what, only 5 teams in Major League history that have been able to come back and win from an 11-run deficit?
In the American
right?
League, a couple of teams have come back from 12 and a couple in the National League from 11. The Astros tied the National League record.
It's amazing. Leadoff hitter Craig Biggio up now. He's grounded out, and he hit a 2-run double in the 2nd inning. So the manager, Terry Collins, certainly in his most important series yet as a manager, and we get good reports about him and how he's handled the situation down there.
Done a real nice job. He's a high-energy guy. He really is very forthright with the players and with the media. But he knows how to step back and laugh at himself and laugh along with the players too. And he's had a nice touch.
2 balls and a strike here. 1 out. Top of the 4th inning. Astros are trailing by a pair of runs. Popped up. Dorsett waves everybody away. This copyrighted telecast is presented by the authority of the Office of the Commissioner of Baseball and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form without express written consent from the Office of the Commissioner.
Don't mess with that office.
Still a vacant desk there in the corner of the office, I guess. Unless I missed something while I was over in Scotland, Mr. Dierker. 2 out now, and here is Steve Finley, 0 for 2 on the night. And of course, this has been a tough task against a left-handed pitcher. Be a little rough on him.
You know, Finley has improved each year in his hitting against left-handed pitchers, and the reason is he's been facing him. He's become a regular outfielder with the Orioles before the Glenn Davis deal. He was platooned, and when he first came over, he had a lot of trouble with lefters, and he still has some, but he has been getting a little better, and the main reason is he's learning to take them to left field.
We run through some of the scores. The Expos are on the board against the Braves in that big one in the East. Dodgers and Giants start later. Line drive by Finley. Sanders measures it. Got it. We've had our first 1, 2, 3 inning of the night. 6-4 Cincinnati. Cincinnati's already batted around a couple of times here in the opener of this 3-game series with Houston. 6 runs, 9 hits, and 1 error for the Reds, and the Astros 4 runs with 5 hits and no errors right now. Top of the 4th inning, top of the order. Jacob Brumfield up 1 for 2. Double and scored a run in their 4-run 3rd inning explosion, giving Deion Sanders a night off. Had a nice chat with Deion down there. He's really enjoying playing baseball for the Reds organization and living in this city, says it's all baseball. That's all he's concentrating on right now. One of the things that Cincinnati fans have learned about Deion Sanders is he's a very big clutch player. This is a man who loved the limelight at Florida State, with the Atlanta Braves, the New York Yankees, the Atlanta Falcons, and he'll step up and produce.
He's been one of their top hitters with men in scoring position since coming over.
Biggio throws him out, and I have just been told that Deion Sanders is going to write a column for the newspaper here, so get the inside right from Deion. Neon Deion. He's the most spectacular college athlete I've ever run.
I write a column for the newspaper. He'll find that that's a lot more difficult than it seems. He will gain new respect for the journalists around the league.
I gotta believe that. Tony Fernandez. He's 1 for 2 on the night. This is a great baseball city. Always has been. Larry used to come in here, and Frank Robinson and those guys.
Back to Crosley Field.
Wow. It's always been one of the baseball capitals of America. Cincinnati, St. Louis. Never lost the baseball fever.
You would have to say that Cincinnati is the cradle of professional baseball in America. Very first team, professional team, played here in 1869, and the Reds have a patch on their uniform to designate that. It's the 125th anniversary of that first professional team, the Cincinnati Red Stockings.
There it is.
Founded by George Wright. His brother Harry also played on the team, so you could say that professional baseball was founded by the Wright brothers.
Not only out of aeronautics, but also in baseball. High fly down. Finley comes in, and he's going to let Cedeno come out and take it away from him. Well, a reminder that Saturday here on ABC Sports begins live at 12 noon and 9 a.m. Pacific time with an NFL preseason game. Atlanta takes on San Diego, AFC NFC Hall of Fame game. Then at 3:30 Eastern, 12:30 Pacific, ABC's Wide World of Sports is in St. Petersburg, Russia. It's the world's best. Go for the gold in the Goodwill games all Saturday right here on ABC. Brian Williams. There was a strike right on that outside corner to Mr. Barry Larkin. Drove in a run in his last at bat with a sacrifice fly.
Williams was hit hard by the Reds here earlier this year. There's another strike on the outside corner. In that game, Smiley was his opponent, and the Astros jumped in front as they have in this game. But they came back and won that game 11-7. Smiley got the win.
Up the middle, base hit.
You look at the way this game has gone, Brent, and Mr. Smiley has got to say this is a lot of fun pitching against the Astros. He beat Williams 11-7 against Swindell earlier. He won 5-3, and he was hit hard in that game.
Mr. Mitchell is back.
Double barrel.
Well, let's see what's going to happen here tonight, folks. 2 for 2, 2 home runs. This time he's going to be looking at a right-hander for the first time tonight. And Williams doesn't want to look at him quite yet.
I think the best way to pitch to Kevin Mitchell is to crowd him. And I think the best way to pitch Bagwell is to crowd him too. But most pitchers are a little leery of that. Get that pitch on the inside corner, and with something on it, you can tie them up, and you can really diffuse their power better that way than by pitching them away. But if you miss and get the ball on the inner third of the plate, that's the one they can hit in the upper deck.
Eusebio sets up a little. Harry stepped inside and got the strike on Mitchell.
Yeah. When you throw that pitch and he doesn't swing, you just have to thank your lucky stars.
So I want to take a look at a Williams pitch here. Shot from Eusebio.
Kevin Mitchell uses a rather heavy bat in the neighborhood of anywhere from 34 to 37 ounces. Most players these days use light bats.
tough racket back there.
Oh, yeah.
They've got him down 0-2 now. Sabio setting up outside.
Maybe he should waste one. He's thrown 9 pitches so far, and every one of them's been a strike.
I wouldn't want to give him another home run on 0-2. I'll tell you that.
Go way upstairs, around where his elbow is.
Breaking ball low. And Mitchell was thinking about it for a moment. With his reaction like that, Larry, if you were out on the mound, would you come back with the breaking ball now?
I'd try to pitch inside, especially ahead in the count. Because you figure he's trying to protect against breaking balls and off-speed pitches.
It was a breaking ball, but he went a little bit
You see,
outside.
those are 2 breaking balls that a lesser hitter would swing at. Most of the good hitters are as good as they are because they handle off-speed stuff and breaking pitches, and because of that, you have to pitch them inside more than you would an ordinary hitter.
Did Sabio get the signal from the dugout what to do here?
He could have. A lot of times the signals that come from the dugout as the count goes full are with regard to the runner. He'll look over and see if they want the pitcher to throw over or step off or try a pickoff play. Most of the time, the working of the hitter in terms of fastball, curveball, and all that is left up to the pitcher and catcher.
Sabio did take a quick glance over, didn't he, at the dugout?
Well, you don't have to worry about the runner now. He's going.
Deep to center field. Way back at the warning track. Finley makes the catch. Almost. No runs, 1 hit, and a very long 3rd out. Lead the Astros 6-4. Reds with 10 hits and the Astros with 5, and almost had another one here, Mr. Dierker.
Well, the pitch down and away, but that doesn't stop Mitchell. He went out and got it and hit it 400 feet. Chased Finley to the deepest part of the ballpark.
Now let's see what Jeff Bagwell can answer with. He's 1 for 1, walked, stolen base, RBI, run scored here tonight. Batting .364, 99 RBIs, leading the league. MVP kind of year, and John Smiley's fallen behind. 2 balls and no strikes. The most interesting statistic I found today about Jeff Bagwell was he was born in Boston on May 27th, 1968. And folks, Frank Thomas was born in Columbus, Georgia on the same day.
Same exact day.
And no 2 Hall of Famers were born on the same day. And if we look down the road, if these 2 fellas keep it up, well, who knows?
Well, the way they're going, about all they're going to have to do is stay healthy long enough.
There's that good pitch. So it's 3 balls and a strike here on Jeff Bagwell, leading off the top of the 5th inning. Baseball night in America. This is the big one in the Central Division of the National League, but there's a lot of other activity going on. Down low, and Bagwell walks for the 2nd time. And John Saunders, what else you got here tonight?
Well, the big one, Brent, in the East is the Expos and the Braves. And tonight it's belonged to Atlanta. That's David Justice ripping this one into the corner right. Lou comes up with it, sends it into the cutoff man Lansing. Coming home, Darren Fletcher is there, but under the tag is John Smoltz. 4-1 in the 6th. Brent and Larry.
John, thank you. And here, of course, it is 6-4. And we keep one eye on that one in the East, later in the West. First time in history, the numbers 1 and 2. 3 new divisions have squared off beginning series on the same Monday night. It is something, isn't it?
Those pitchers can really slide, can't they? Uh-oh.
Fernandez starts one.
Good pitch by Smiley. He ran that ball in on Caminetti's hands. It's a good ground ball pitch. Typically the hitter will pull it and jam himself. But he got just the result he wanted, and the Reds turned it perfectly.
Oh, it's nice to have those double plays against a team like Houston. You're in the middle of their order. You've got their number 4 hitter up now. Instead of having 1 or 2 on, you've got Kevin Bass, the number 5 hitter, up. 2 out, nobody on. You're up by 2. So what a big double play that was for the Cincinnati defense. Smiley just relaxed, and he hits. I want to tell you right now, Dana DeMuth has given that inside corner knee high all night long. He has been consistent. It was like the first pitch of the game.
That's really all you ask for. If the umpire establishes a strike zone for you and he stays with it, then you know what you've got to work with. And as long as it's the same for both teams, it's like rain. They say, well, how do you pitch when it's raining? You say, well, the same way as the other guy. You know, how can you complain if the umpire's consistent?
You know, a lot of good pitchers get better as the game goes on. If you notice that, sometimes you get them on the ropes in the first couple of innings, and if they slide free and they get a lead,
Graybeck is
really
that way.
Is he?
A lot of times it's just a matter of finding your control, getting command, as the pitcher will say. And once he knows what he's got going and how it's going to move and where it's going to go, he can make it awfully tough on you.
Up high, I'm reminded that Tommy Seaver used to do that here in Cincinnati. Get himself in trouble early.
Gibson was that way. They say you got to get him early, and if you do, you better hold on to it because you're not getting any more.
Fergie Jenkins, same thing. Breaking ball a little bit too inside low that time.
That's why I have a lot of admiration for the good short relief pitchers, the guys that save games. They don't have the luxury of a couple of innings to get their bearings and figure out what's working. If they give up a run or two, they can't pitch on and then win. They lose immediately as soon as they give up the run.
High fly ball. This should end it. Foul territory. Morris got it. And the Astros don't score. It's 6-4 Cincinnati. I'm Brent Musberger. Tonight, a hitter's night. They've taken over. Folks, there was a time in Major League Baseball when the pitchers dominated everything. I mean, there was Drysdale, there was Koufax, and there was Mr. Larry Dierker. Look at this sleek right-hander. Bring it on hard, folks. That's a no-hitter against the Montreal Expos. What year was that?
1976. The old rainbow uniform.
Mustache and everything. Look at him.
Ice bag on the shoulder.
8 strikeouts, and here he is, intellectual baseball announcer. One of the voices of the Houston Astros, does a fabulous job. Nice to have you along on Baseball Night.
You know, I could pitch even better from up here.
Never make a mistake up here, do you? So we get set here in Cincinnati. Ooh, high and tight, the first pitch to Reggie Sanders. Speaking of Baseball Night in America, John Saunders, what's going on?
Well, Brent, the Montreal Expos try to fight back against the Atlanta Braves. Will Cordero, his 15th home run of the year, is a 2-run shot. Fletcher was aboard. This off John Smoltz. It's a 4-3 contest now in the 6th inning. The Twins and the Rangers, Jose Canseco, Scott Erickson. And Erickson loses this matchup. This one is way back on the grass. The 27th of the year. Texas leading 5-2. Now in the 6th. Brent and Larry.
John, thank you very much. And here the count is 1 ball and 2 strikes on Cincinnati's leadoff hitter, Reggie Sanders, the right fielder, 2 for 2 tonight. You know, Larry, listening to John tell us about Montreal, I'm not sure that folks around the country realize just how overall impressive that Expo team is.
Oh, it's a tremendously talented team.
Foul back again.
And you really have to give the Expos credit because they've done it almost exclusively through their farm system.
Exactly.
They haven't had a lot of money to work with to go out and sign free agents or trade for proven players. They've had to develop their talent, and boy, they've developed a lot of it.
Williams ready, 1-2. High foul ball behind home plate. And another souvenir. Nothing better for a fan than grabbing a little souvenir at the ballpark.
Part of the long history of baseball, but it was not ever such.
Really?
The ushers used to collect the baseballs and throw them back on the field.
When did that practice end?
Around 1921 or 2. It ended at the Polo Grounds.
Would the fans threaten to riot?
A fan by the name of Reuben Berman kept the ball and wouldn't give it back.
Now, you're pulling Reuben Berman. I mean, you even know his name? Folks, I want to tell you, got a trivia question. Don't call the library. Just get Dierker's phone number. I mean, that's unbelievable that you know him.
The case went to court. You thought the owners were just generous all this time, didn't you?
Yes, I did. He took it to court.
They took him to court. He kept the baseball. He was allowed to keep it. About that same time, Ray Chapman was beamed and killed.
Right.
And there's a good fastball. Blew him away.
Well, let me remind you again of a Saturday, August 6th, baseball night in America. These Reds welcome the Braves right here to Riverfront Stadium. And as far as you Houston Astro fans are concerned, you've got a big one coming up with the Giants on August 6th. Matt Williams, Jeff Bagwell. So check your local listings for the game in your area. Saturday, August 6th at 8 Eastern, 7 Central, right here on ABC. Way outside with one out, it's Hal Morris. He's 2 for 2, a single and a double tonight.
Anyway, to finish that story, the fans keep the baseballs. The batter is beamed. They say, wait a minute, we can't have this. They outlaw the spitball. They throw new balls into play more often because the pitchers were used to rubbing them up with dirt, tobacco juice, and all that sort of thing. And what do you know? You've got a live ball era.
Ground ball, base hit right field. So Morris is 3 for 3. He was beamed badly on a throw by the catcher in Chicago on Friday. Took Saturday off, suffered what was described as a slight concussion, and said that on Sunday he felt a bit fuzzy, which meant he told the writers that that's just perfect for me, just perfect condition.
It seems to be tonight. 3 for 3.
It's interesting because I did have a note on baseballs that in 1960 the Reds and the Cubs played a 9-inning game with only 1 baseball.
Well, see, now they'd have to get the balls back to go in the stands, right? They didn't play a whole game without fouling one off into the stands.
Exactly. 1 out, fouled away, and Brent Boone trying to get his second hit.
You know, Babe Ruth at that same time was traded from the Red Sox to the Yankees, and of course he became an everyday outfielder in 1920 and started hitting home runs by the dozen, and no one had ever done that before. So around that same time, a lot of batters took their cue from him, and they said, well, if he can do it, let's swing a little harder ourselves. The Roaring 20s was a hitter's era, free swinging era, in more ways than one.
Were you always interested in the history of the game?
No, I never knew anything about it when I started doing this.
I see. Well, you got a lot of time on your hands on the road. You can go to the bookstores and the libraries, and it's interesting for the fans to hear those stories. Foul ball. And we've had a couple of doubles down into that corner already tonight.
And when I was playing, I didn't know anything about anybody that played before I played. And most of these guys that are playing down here tonight don't know anything about anyone that played in the 50s and 60s.
That's why I showed them that clip of you, just to remind them that you were pretty good.
At least for one game, anyway.
No, you were much better than that back in the late 60s when the pitchers dominated. You were right up there with the best right-handers in the league. Williams up high now with that fastball fouled away.
And Williams is giving them a lot more to deal with than Swindell did. Swindell didn't have much of a fastball tonight, and they were just, waiting back for a mistake, and he made a few, and they really made him pay for it. But Williams has got a little more life on his pitches, and he's apt to get away with a few mistakes.
And Boone hits this one out of play. Had a couple of RBIs with his double back in the 3rd inning. Cincinnati up by 2, 6-4. We're in the bottom of the 5th. This is the first of 3. These are 2 wonderful teams to be a fan of when you think about it. The Astros can explode and put runs on the board. Cincinnati, 290 as a team they've been hitting this year. Both in
relatively
contention.
Young teams, too.
They are. Ground ball, base hit right field, and Morris takes the turn and holds at second. And Cincinnati could get some hitting help in September. Over in that dugout is Ron Gant, who was signed as a free agent. He has been taking batting practice here in Riverfront Stadium. We take a look at this base hit into right field.
It's a good at bat for Brent Boone. He didn't really hit that ball well, but found a hole on the infield. But he was able to foul off a couple of tough pitches to get to the one that he could handle.
Brian Dorsett, 0 for 1 and an intentional walk. Now the hitter with 1 out and 2 on here in the bottom of the 5th. But Gant was telling me that he may be able to play in September. They're not sure yet. It was a badly broken right leg. Compound fracture suffered in a motorcycle dirt bike accident. Ground ball right to shortstop. Easy double play for Houston. They're out of the inning, and Cincinnati can't score. Davey Johnson to compare this Cincinnati team with his good teams with the Mets in the late 80s.
Character-wise, best team I ever had. Hard-working. Offensively, I think it's the best team I've ever had. You know, even though I had Strawberry, Hernandez, and Carter on the same team, this team throughout the lineup is probably overall a little bit stronger. We don't hit the ball at the ballpark, but offensively, we got a lot better hitters throughout the lineup.
High praise indeed. The pitching staff, perhaps not as talented as that team in the late 80s in New York, but Davey obviously very comfortable with this team as Gonzalez steps in here to lead off now. For the Astros, it'll be Gonzalez, Sabio, and Cedeno here in the top of the 6th inning. Houston trailing by 2. And Smiley, after giving up 4 runs in the first 2 innings, has settled down here, Larry.
Sure has. He walked a couple in the first. He hasn't walked a batter since. He's been ahead in the count most of the time.
Gonzalez with an open, wide stance. Behind in the count 0-2, and he suddenly closes it down on the pitch.
Smiley had elbow surgery last year after winning 20 games for Minnesota the year before. He was also a 20-game winner 1 year with the Pirates.
There's what he has done here, and he's thrown 71 pitches so far on the night.
A tougher challenge right now than he was at the beginning of the game.
Got help there. You know, a lot of the young fans don't remember Davey Johnson as a player. They remember him as a Met manager, but he was a tough second baseman with some very outstanding Baltimore Oriole teams.
And with power, he had 42 home runs 1 year with the Braves to tie Roger Hornsby's single-season record for second baseman. There's a strike to Eusebio. He was the last batter to get a hit off Sandy Koufax. He was a part of a home run record-setting team with the Braves, and I think they had 4 guys hit 40 home runs or more. Might have been 3. Darrell Evans and Aaron also hit 40 that year.
Had he already played a year in Japan, and then he came back, I believe. Finished up. Kind of a thinking man's manager. Bounder to first. Morris on the short hop. And there are 2 out here in the 6th inning. So tomorrow night on ABC, it's a night of comedy and drama. First, the laughs are as easy as ABC with Full House, Sister, Sister, Roseanne, and Coach. And then it's America's favorite new drama, NYPD Blue, all tomorrow right here on ABC. And here on this Monday night, Baseball Night in America. I certainly hope you're enjoying it wherever you're watching. The Reds leading the Astros 6-4, and John Smiley now shutting down this hard-hitting Houston team here the last couple of innings with Andahar Cedeno 1 for 2 in with 2 out in the 6th.
Smiley's retired 9 in a row.
Well, he had that one good double play, didn't he? Which
oh, that's right. He's got 9 outs in a row, but right. A walk and then a double play.
Full of confidence now. Kevin Mitchell with his 2 home runs helps stake him to a 2-run lead. Alien says did not go around.
Oh, you talk about Davey Johnson breaking or tying Roger Hornsby's record for home runs by a second baseman. Another second baseman who played here in Cincinnati and also in Houston, Joe Morgan, broke Hornsby's all-time career record for home runs by a second baseman.
Smashed down the line in left field, curving, and it's foul.
carom shot up and over the wall, but clearly foul. Orlando Miller, the Astros' other shortstop, and a guy who's come up recently with the injury to Andy Stankiewicz and hit with some power. Miller, really a similar talent to Cedeno, and he's on deck to hit for Brian Williams.
If Cedeno can get on. 1-2 and 2 out.
We got all kinds of second base connections here. Tommy Helms, the second baseman for the Reds that was traded in the Morgan deal, was also out here at Riverfront tonight. I think Tommy's out here serving barbecue. He's got a restaurant around here.
Hey, he brought some of the fellas, didn't he?
Yes, he did.
Good for him. Well, it's 6-4.
That was certainly an infamous trade, but it was not quite so bad a trade as a lot of people think. The Astros actually moved up in the standings the next year, too, but the Reds moved up to first and stayed there after that deal.
Right there. That's been his corner all night long on the inside. He's got Cedeno. 1, 2, 3. For front, Cincinnati up by 2, and John Smiley has settled down and turned in 4 fine innings here, in which he has struck out 3 and allowed only 1 hit after giving up 4 runs and 4 hits in the first 2 innings. As he stands in here now to lead off, his wife Dana watching here in Riverfront. The Smileys are expecting their first baby in November, and swung on a miss. She's getting a little practice on.
Yeah, well.
Right now, let's check in with John Saunders on Baseball Night in America. John?
All right, Brent, thanks a lot. The Twins and the Rangers. Oda B. McDowell scoring Manuel Lee, who comes around from second as the Texas Rangers add another run in their comeback. 6-3 now over the Twins in the 7th inning. White Sox and the Royals. 6th inning. Greg Gagne against Jack McDowell, and he lifts this one out there and just drops in. McFarland comes in to score, and the Royals are up 3-2. The Montreal Expos, Moises Alou, the hero in the All-Star game, he's back at it. Slaps this one out to right field. Marquise Grissom comes in to score. Rondell White follows him. And Montreal takes the lead in a game they were down 3-0 and 4-1. They lead 5-4. Let's go back to Brent and Larry.
Well, John, if there's any Achilles heel down there in Atlanta, it can be the second line pitching coming on. They have not held up, and here John Smoltz runs into trouble. Montreal bounces back on him. No surprise with the quality there with that baseball team. We'll keep an eye on that one here of John Smiley. Strikeout victim number 3 for Williams, and now it is Jacob Brumfield with 1 out, going deep to right field, back into the corner, and putting it away is Kevin Bass. Baseball Night in America is brought to you by Toyota and their full line of quality cars and trucks. Toyota, I love what you do for me. Bud Light, if you want that great taste that won't fill you up and never let you down, make it a Bud Light. And Goodyear, #1 in tires. As we go rolling along here in Cincinnati, 2 out in the bottom of the 6th inning. And Tony Fernandez stepping up to the plate, had a single and scored a run back in the 1st inning. You know, one of the things what John pointed out, I wanted to ask you about, Larry, the one thing that I think they should do, having gone to the 3 division, which, as you know, I love, they should go to an unbalanced schedule so that you play teams in your division more times than the rest of the
Yeah, I agree with that. Of course, with the 14 teams in the league, the American League's been trying to do that for years, trying to figure out a way to guarantee that teams would play the teams they may be contending with late in the year, and they've been unable to come up with a formula. Of course, they've been doing it with 2 7-team divisions rather than 5, 5, and 4. So maybe they'll be able to figure something out for this next season that will help in that way.
And that might mean the end of a sub-500 team winning a division, too. If you played more games like within the American League Western Division, that might balance out. The same in the National League West, for that matter. They're not that far above 500 out there. Here it's 2-2 now with 2 out. A lot of pressure on the next couple of weeks around Major League Baseball. In case there's a strike, in case, we hope it doesn't happen, the rest of the season gets wiped away, they might go back to what the standings are to determine the division winners. The players, the managers, the front offices are very aware of that. As a result, Davey Johnson told me it's not likely that Cincinnati and these other teams are going to be shopping around for a high-priced player here in the next few days that might come available on waivers. They don't want to spend that kind of money for only a couple of weeks. And on the backhand, shortstop Cedeno can't come up and make the play with 2 out, and Fernandez is on at first.
Cedeno's been having some trouble defensively in the last couple of weeks. Now he has more. Made 16 errors this year.
To give you an idea here, you can see 1 game separates, and that game is represented over in the loss column here, and that's why Houston feels a sense of urgency in this particular series, just in case it's the last time they meet Cincinnati.
I think managers of contending teams at this stage are going to manage as if you were at the end of August instead of at the end of July. They're going to start playing their regular players practically every day.
2 out, and after the error, Fernandez drawing some attention over at first base. Barry Larkin up again. Sacrifice fly back in the 3rd inning and a single in the 4th. So now with a 2-run lead, let's see how the Reds would like to play it here.
Trying to bunt his way aboard to get Mitchell up with men on. Larkin not a bad RBI hitter. In many ways, he's like Craig Biggio. He can hit for some power for you. He can hit in the 3rd spot. Or he can lead off. He draws a lot of walks. He can get on. He can steal. He can score. Very versatile. Such a bonus for a team to have a player play shortstop and give you that kind of offense. Typically a non-offensive position.
Toward the gap in left center field. Gonzalez goes hard and runs it down for the Astros. Cincinnati leaves Fernandez on at first base, and it is still 6-4. We'll have more after this from our ABC stations. Top of the 7th inning. Trailing by 2 runs, pinch hitter James Mouton will lead off here against John Smiley for the Astros. The Astros have been such a potent offensive force, especially the last couple of weeks, that you would fully expect them to make a final run here in the last 3 innings. First 3 belong to the offense. Pitchers took over in the second 3, and now we come down to the stretch of this game. Joe Morgan, amongst others, Larry, likes to divide baseball games into thirds. And he says each third in his mind has always taken on a different personality. I guess he viewed it that way as a player up there. And this one has been 2 distinct games already, hasn't it?
Yeah, it sure has. Mouton was the right fielder and leadoff man for the Astros at the outset of the season. Had a fabulous year last year and was the most valuable player in the Pacific Coast League. But he's had some troubles with Major League pitching, so he finds himself on the bench now. If he gets on, he can really run.
Check swing foul. 2-2 the count. It's been a well umpired game behind home plate tonight.
The umpires have done a nice job. Reds are getting Hector Carrasco ready now as Smiley's getting up near the 100 pitch mark. Carrasco's a very hard thrower, a rookie.
Two on the leadoff hitter.
I would divide the game not so much into thirds but into outs as I got down toward the end.
Interesting. How many you'd have left? Is that what you?
Well, you look at certain hitters, and you didn't want to have to face the guys in the middle of the lineup in the 9th inning, so you'd start counting down to see what you had to do to finish the game before you had to go through that lineup another time.
Deep to center field. Back to the warning track. Sanders puts it away. Brumfield puts it away, I should say, as Wednesday on ABC. It's a night of romance and laughter. First, the special you have to say yes to, Will You Marry Me? Then it is Tool Time, Home Improvement, followed by Grace Under Fire, Wednesday night right here on ABC. Jacob Brumfield drifting back in center field to make the first out of the 7th inning, and Smiley has not been allowing the leadoff hitter to reach base since the 5th inning, and then it was the double play Ken Caminetti bounced into. But that was really the last whiff by the Astros, wasn't it, here, as Greg Swindell steps in.
Yeah, he got Caminetti on the very next pitch, so really that wasn't much of a threat.
It's up high.
Biggio works the count a lot. When he gets to 2-0, a lot of times he takes the next pitch, even if it's a pretty good pitch to hit. He's a very, very patient hitter, especially in this type of role where even if he hit a home run, you still wouldn't catch up.
Just any base runner brings that potential tie and run to the plate now for the Astros.
Just as I would count down to which hitters I didn't want to face, Biggio is well aware of where Bagwell is, right in behind Finley.
Exactly. High and tight, and Biggio draws the walk on base for the second time tonight. And now, would the manager in this situation ever think of pinch hitting here for Finley against the left-handed pitcher, Larry?
He might, if Finley were struggling. Finley's been swinging the bat pretty well lately. Finley has the speed to stay out of a double play. He wants Bagwell up there in the worst way with a man on.
Exactly. He's right at 100 pitches on an unofficial count.
You see, those first two innings really reflect the fact that he was not in command of his stuff, and the Astros were getting after him in those first two frames, and then an economy of pitches since then. Very humid out here tonight, not very hot, but I'm sure he's got a good sweat going, and he might be starting to get tired.
Finley would love to get on base any way he can, but he quickly falls behind with the foul ball. He has grounded out twice to the infield and lined out to the right fielder.
Finley has a new career high in home runs with 10 already. And I guess it's just a sign of the times. Almost everyone is cranking on the ball these days. Finley's no exception.
He'd settle going to the opposite field right now, wouldn't he? Taking one.
He'd settle for getting on base in any way. He is not nearly as patient a hitter as Biggio, and because of that, not as effective a hitter at the top of the lineup. His on-base average isn't as good. He will hit for some average, and he hits second because he can pull the ball through the hole on the right side, and he's a pretty good bunter.
There's a ground ball to the infield, but I don't know if they can turn it. Let's see what Larkin knows. Finley getting down the line quickly, so Bagwell will come up, representing the tying run, but Davy Johnson may elect to go to the right-hander. He had to be thinking about what he wanted to do against Bagwell as you watch the end of this.
Finley trying to pull that ball through that open hole on the right side, but he wasn't able to pull it enough. And Biggio went in hard, and this is a big series, and he wasn't going to leave anything to chance, but I think Larkin knew right from the start he wasn't going to try to turn that on Finley.
So Smiley exit, Dana applauds, and we'll be right back. Baseball always winds down to these great little climaxes. Here we are in the seventh inning. Right-hander Hector Carrasco on to pitch against Houston's best hitter this year. Here's Jeff Bagwell. Here's the duel we've been waiting for. Bagwell represents the tying run. Carrasco starts him out down low and falls behind here in the count. This is what the young man has accomplished so far. Remarkable. He got RBI 99 earlier tonight. Also scored a run. Didn't quite like it. It was on the outside corner and took it, and the count goes to 1-1. So here's what Hector Carrasco, who once was in the Houston organization, as Larry told you, has accomplished. 2.27.
Got a great arm. Way up over 90 miles an hour.
Good looking pitch fouled away.
He was a wild pitcher in the minor leagues. The Astros had him, and they knew he was a very special talent, and they traded him to the Marlins to get Tom Edens because they felt they needed to replace a man in the middle with an experienced player. There's Smiley, and he had a pretty good outing here tonight after a rough start. 4 runs, only 2 earned. He got a chance to beat the Astros for the 3rd time this year.
Man on first, 2 out. Counts 1 ball, 2 strikes, and Carrasco snaps over, and Finley goes to the dirt.
Carrasco is 24 years old now. Came over here in the Chris Hammond deal from the Marlins. I don't think that they even dreamed that he'd be ready this year. So, you know, on every team, you're going to have some surprises, especially a championship team. Some guys are going to come out of nowhere, like John Hudek has for the Astros.
1-2 outside, bounces, and Dorsett does a good job of keeping the ball in play in front of him.
The Reds had an opening on their staff because Dibble was hurt, so that was one slot that they didn't know they were going to have to fill. And they saw a guy with an arm like this, and they said, well, let's see if he can throw strikes. He did in spring training. He did at the start of the year, got off to a great start, and actually was their closer for a while. Jeff Brantley is now.
2-2 and 2 out. Now what Davey Johnson is hoping is that this is the last time he has to face Bagwell tonight. What Collins is hoping on the other side is that Bagwell can ignite something here. Trailing by 2. Here's the 2-2-2. Just missed outside. It'll go full now.
Yeah. Well, there is the great example of the veteran who over the years has proven himself to have a good eye against a rookie who has had a tendency to be a little wild, and the effect it has on an umpire.
Reputation matters.
Oh, yeah. If Bagwell was the rookie and Carrasco the veteran, this inning would be over.
Finley will be on the move. 3-2 to Bagwell. Shot down the right field line, deep toward the corner, and just fouled.
Oh, that ball had the distance. Oh, man.
So they come back and start it all over again here, and this has been a good at-bat for Mr. Bagwell, but what else would you expect? Here's a young man who could well wind up being the MVP of the National League this year. It has been a battle between these two, and one of them may not make the playoffs the way Montreal and the Braves took it this shot down into the corner. Three-two. Line down to play again, and Bagwell, like all good hitters, hanging tough here at a very critical moment in the game. Top of the 7th inning with 2 out.
One of the reasons that he has settled down a little in his stance is he was striking out a lot the first few years. He was still doing a lot of damage, hitting for average, driving in runs, and he still strikes out a lot, but not as much as he used to.
Swung on and missed. Carrasco gets him to end the 7th inning. And Cincinnati leads Houston 6-4. He's been a walking highlight film here tonight. Riverfront. Here is the MCI proof positive replay. This in the first inning, a 2-run shot, number 25.
He can hit the high one. He can hit the low one.
And now slaps one foul right down the middle of the plate.
And he can really hit the in-between one.
He's had himself some night here for the Cincinnati Reds.
His MVP year was 1989 when he hit 47 homers for the Giants and drove in 125.
Breaking ball bounded to left field for a single.
It's a pretty good curveball, too.
Tommy Edens gives up a hit here to Kevin Mitchell.
The only time the Astros have retired him is on a fly ball to the 404-foot side. Well, Mitchell leaves to a standing ovation. 3 for 4 with 3 RBIs. And so the Astros will have a little bit better coverage in the outfield when they go back out on defense.
And coming in off the bench, Deion Sanders, injured right heel and all. This gives them great speed on the bases right now with a 2-run lead. And of course he can stay and play a little defensive outfield for you. As Reggie Sanders, the right fielder, hits one high. Left field, back to the warning track, Gonzalez. One out, and Deion retreats to first base.
Do you think that Deion Sanders can outrun Kevin Mitchell even with a bruised heel?
One leg in a cast, he might be able to still hoof it down there a little bit quicker. At Florida State one time down in Tallahassee, he worked out for Bobby Bowden in a football scrimmage, played a baseball game for the Seminoles, and then helped the 4x100 relay team to a victory later that day. You talk about somebody who can do it all. As Deion pulls away from first now, Hal Morris the hitter, and the right-hander Tommy Eden.
I think it's a wonderful thing for the sport of baseball that it has attracted some guys that have also been good football players, that maybe they can see that the longevity is on their side in this sport, and for whatever reason, baseball has got a few of them recently, and they've been good ones.
There he goes on the pitch out. Deion Sanders steals second base despite the pitch out. And for Deion now, he has stolen 33 bases on the year.
Huge lead, good jump, and despite a good strong throw, he is safe easily.
So with a 2-run lead, you're in the bottom of the 7th. You have just retired the hottest hitter in the game, and you insert Deion Sanders after Kevin Mitchell's single. You can see that the Reds have a lot of weapons, and now Morris will be walked intentionally with Brett Boone coming up. And it is Brett Boone. We've been raving about Kevin Mitchell's 2 home runs, and certainly they're important. But the reason why the Cincinnati Reds are ahead, Brett Boone's 2-run double in the 3rd inning after Mitchell's 2nd home run. It was Reggie Sanders singling, Hal Morris doubled, and then Brett Boone put them ahead, and they have stayed there.
Now Terry Collins is out to the mound with some words of advice for Tom Edens. There is nobody warming up in the Astros bullpen, so this is just a strategy talk. What you're looking for here is the ground ball. And the question is, if you're a sinker ball pitcher like Edens, are you going to try to get it with a fastball, or are you going to try to get it with a breaking ball?
We don't know, Larry, what Marquise Grissom is doing down in Atlanta. But if he has not stolen a base, then Deion Sanders would have resumed the league lead. But again, we're not sure. Grissom well could have stolen a base in that while went down in Atlanta.
Boone is grounded into 10 double plays, second most on the Reds, and the Astros are going to try to hold Sanders. And I think for Collins, that's probably more than how to pitch him. It was probably make sure you hold Sanders, because we can't get a double play if they pull a double steal.
No balls, 1 strike, and 1 out. Runners on at first and second. A little bit too far inside with that pitch. Brian Dorsett would be next for the Reds, who lead it by a pair and have a 1-out threat here in the 7th inning. Deion takes off for third. The throw goes to second, and the double steal works. Deion Sanders had a great jump, and now he has stolen base number 34.
Yeah, the Astros had it set up to throw to second all along. And you weren't going to get that guy. So you try for the other one, and a perfect throw would have had him, but Morris was ready and had a good jump himself. Now the infield's in.
So it was the power that built the lead, and now Davy Johnson has turned things over to the speed in his lineup. High and tight to Boone, and it's 3 balls and 1 strike.
You hate to dig yourself in any deeper by walking this guy, but I think the Astros are going to do it. Try for the double play with the catcher Dorsett. They'll probably play in close enough to make a throw home on a ball not hit too hard.
Meanwhile, let's go to John Saunders for an update. John?
Well, Brett, the White Sox and the Royals, 1-run game. Kevin Appier cruising, but Robin Ventura takes him to the corner and left. Julio Franco comes in to score, and it ties the game at 3 apiece. That's where we stand. And by the way, Marquise Grissom of the Expos, no steals tonight.
All right, John, thank you. That means that Dion has stolen 2 more than Marquise Grissom. And Cleveland Indian fans, boy, Franco has meant a lot, hasn't he, to that White Sox lineup? Really made it. Bouncy ball, Sabio's able to block it, and Dion.
You think Dion's making everybody nervous.
That's right. Everybody jumpy with Dion on the bases now, which are loaded, and 1 out, and here is Dorsett.
Astros didn't ask for an appeal. They were too preoccupied.
Now Dion looks at him now. Tommy looks right back. Swung on, a foul back by Dorsett.
Dorsett hit a grand slam here at Riverfront against the Astros earlier this year in a game that Swindell started and left with 2 outs in the 9th with a 4-run lead. That grand slam tied the game. Mike Hampton and Dave Beers throwing for the Astros in the bullpen. A right-hander and a left-hander. Hampton the lefty.
Eden's ready. Breaking ball, line drive, base hit. 1 run will score, and the bases stay loaded. Deion Sanders, a pinch runner, steals 2 bases and comes home on Dorsett's single. And the Reds build a 3-run lead in the bottom of the 7th. And Hector Carrasco will come up to bat.
Terry Collins directing the defensive players in terms of positioning. The Reds have hit some pretty good pitches in this inning. That curveball was up a little bit, but it had a good sharp break to it. Mitchell hit a good curve. Dorsett with a clutch hit. And Davey Johnson feels pretty comfortable with this lead, and also with Brumfield on deck, thinks he might be able to add to it without changing pitchers.
Well, the way he threw against Bagwell, I think Johnson and the Reds are happy to keep that, right arm in the game.
Why change pitchers and bring in a guy if you're not sure how he's going to be throwing when you've got a guy in there and you know he's throwing well?
Houston would love to coax a double play, certainly a strikeout out of Carrasco. They get a pop-up out of play, and it's 0-2 now. Double play, of course. They wouldn't have to face Brumfield with the bases loaded. Caminetti even with the bag. Likewise for Bagwell at first. Middle infielders at back. There you see the defensive alignment. And it's 0-2 with 1 out. Breaking ball got him. Froze him with it.
Buckled his knees. For a relief pitcher, it doesn't go up very often. That's not really fair. He's doing a limbo.
That's how a lot of us would look against Major League pitching. So now it is Brumfield. A 3rd inning double, his only hit in the game. No lead safe with the Houston offense. The Reds are thinking, the Astros are thinking, just give us a couple more at-bats, we'll get this thing going again. Eden's ready. Another breaking ball for a strike. Let's see what Eden will do here. Bases loaded and 2 out. Sabio moves over to the inside corner. Sabio's done a good job of blocking a couple of pitches behind home plate tonight. Tough job. The wear and tear that the knees take for a major league catcher, it's unbelievable.
Ron Bremley once said by the end of the year you feel like a used car.
His fingers were pretty low when he flashed that sign out there, Larry. Inside, sometimes Catcher has to be a little careful of that.
Yeah. You see the third base coach and first base coach will be looking in, trying to see if they can read the catcher's sign. They try to keep your knees as close together as possible to block their view. Giving multiple signs with a runner on second.
Sets up inside low.
Changeup is down. Brumfield's done a nice job laying off pitches here. A couple of those inside pitches just missed the corner. One was close enough that it might even have been called a strike, but wasn't.
Now this is what Brumfield wanted as a hitter. If he can get to 3-1 now, 2 out and the base is loaded.
If you're a hitter, you have to make sure you get a pitch to hit. A lot of times they get to this point, then swing at a bad pitch.
Right there, ground ball right to shortstop. Cedeno forces the runner at second. 1 run, could have been a lot worse. Cincinnati leads Houston 7-4 after 7. We wanted to give you a player's perspective on this race and the rest of the season. Here's Jeff Bagwell.
It seems like every time we play good, they play good. It's been a good race, and you know, if I knew the season was going to be the whole year and we're going to play 162 games, I really wouldn't worry about this series. But with the strike looming and things like that, I think it really is important.
But here, Caminetti on the first pitch downs it to Morris, and it's 3-1. I thought Bagwell in that interview with you, Larry, was very thoughtful before the game.
He's a very bright young man. And certainly his talents are quite apparent when you look at his build and determination, his athleticism. But there's a lot going on upstairs in that young man's head, too.
And a thinking man's hitter, they'll tell you, in the Houston dugout. Now with 1 out, it is Kevin Bass. He doubled in the first inning. Trying to get something going against Carrasco, a hard throwing right-hander who's pumping a little smoke in there now.
And if the race seemed important, if the series seemed urgent to Bagwell before this game, imagine how it seems now as the prospect of winning it is dwindling.
This fellow's got a little senior smoke to him.
Yes, he does. He throws hard to easy, as they say. Doesn't seem like it takes much effort. A lot in that wrist.
Kevin Bass trying to get something started. Down on the count. 1-2 now.
Carrasco has a tendency to be a little wild still. Not so much as he was in the minor leagues, but if you're going to break through on him, it's probably going to be a walk-aided rally.
Down low and inside, and of course tomorrow night there'll be a little more smoke coming from the right arm of Jose Rijo for the Cincinnati Reds. He's there with Ray Knight. Knight likes those hard-throwing right-handers when they're on his side. You can expect Knight to become a manager someday in the majors. I was with his wife,
the Tommy Lasorda type if he keeps that up.
Oh yeah, sure. I was with his wife Nancy Lopez at the Women's Open over the weekend. That's the one big championship Nancy's never won. She thought she had it going first couple of days, but just couldn't get the putts to drop, and Patty Sheehan came in with another victory in that. I know the women are very popular when they come here in Cincinnati. Slap foul.
You know, Rio, a young pitcher still, really, but a very experienced major league pitcher, has probably had a lot to do with the progress of Hector Carrasco. Both are natives of the Dominican Republic, and Rio can certainly show him the ropes, show him around the league and the cities, and talk to him a little bit about what you need to do to be successful in this league. He's been plenty successful himself.
2-2 from Carrasco. Hit high into left field. And put away out there for the second out. And moving over to left field, Jacob Brumfield, after Deion Sanders went in to run. He stays in the game, and Brumfield replaces Mitchell over in left field. And that's 2 outs now. Now Gonzalez is happy not to be looking at a left-handed pitcher here at this at bat. He's been stopped tonight by John Smiley 3 times. He'll see if he can get a 2-out rally started here. It was a 2-out rally for the Astros in the first inning. Bagwell then drew a walk. Caminetti walked. Kevin Bass's double put them ahead. They scored 3 more times on 3 hits. and an error by Larkin in the second inning, but they haven't scored since.
Good fastball, good live arm. You get behind 2-0, you just fire it in there. And a lot of times the hitter still doesn't catch up with it. That pitch was in a good hitting zone over the middle of the plate. Gonzalez was just late.
Two. Gonzalez hanging in there. Ground ball, Larkin backs up, and it's 1-2-3 for Carrasco. We'll go to the bottom of the 8th. It's 7-4 Cincinnati.
Thinking of getting high? You better know what you're jumping into.
Well, here Cincinnati's ahead, and John Saunders, what else is developing?
Well, Brent, the White Sox and the Royals tied at 3-3 in the 9th inning, but the winning run is on. Jose Lean lifts it out to center field. Darren Jackson has it. Guns it into first. They double up Greg Gagne, and they are out of trouble. Right now it's headed to the 10th inning, tied 3-3. Back to you, Brent.
All right, John. Folks in Cleveland, they had their fingers crossed. Thought that the White Sox might suffer loss number 39. The Indians have lost 39.
How'd you like to be on base with a winning run and get doubled off on a fly ball like that?
Amazing. Here we are in the bottom of the 8th inning now. Tommy Edens staying on for his second inning of work, and Tony Fernandez fouls one away.
The Reds have been a dominant team here at home. If they win this one, they'll be 35-15 at Riverfront. The Astros split 4 games with them earlier this year. They'll have an uphill battle after this game if they don't pull off a miracle in the 9th.
Fernandez hit by a pitch.
Right in the hip. Trying to get it in, and it got it too far in.
So Greg Lynn's medical staff snaps to here, and you know, it's interesting when you think about Cincinnati, Larry. Tom Browning's unfortunate accident. I spoke with him down at. He's back in uniform, but he really can't do much with his arm yet. He's been unable to get any kind of an extension on it. Somewhat disappointed. Hopes to be able, perhaps to be able to throw again in September, but not all that optimistic. So no chance that he's going to be pitching again this year.
Just a very freak injury to break your bone in your arm throwing a pitch.
Yeah. It looked painful, didn't it? Oh. Barry Larkin breaking ball down low with Fernandez on at first. Nobody out here. Kevin Mitchell will get no more cracks here tonight as Deion Sanders went into run for him, remember, in the 7th inning.
So Deion will be up next against a right-handed pitcher, and Deion's no easy out himself.
Gets away from Eusebio, runs it down before Fernandez has a chance to go anyplace here. 3-run Cincinnati lead. Houston's been stopped for the last 6 innings after scoring 3 times in the 2nd inning and taking a 4-2 lead. Then a 4-run Cincinnati 3rd inning turned the game around. Deion Sanders' speed helps add 1 in the 7th. Larkin fouls 1.
The Reds really present the same type of problem to a pitcher that the Astros do, and that is that you very seldom get an inning that you could call a breather. They have pretty good hitters and dangerous hitters down at the end of their lineup. You have to work just about as hard when you're facing those guys as you do the guys at the top and in the middle. You can just flat wear you out. Add to that the aspect of speed. Hernandez sneaking off, trying to see if he could get a free steal there until the Astros alerted Edens that he was straying. Big Red Machine was that way. They had some guys that could hurt you with a long ball, but they had guys that could steal too.
But his foul. Larkin trying to.
And they had guys like Concepcion and Geronimo down at the end of the lineup that were hitting 280 or 270 or 300 some years, and with a little bit of power. He just never got a rest out there.
Because he was surrounded by so many great players, Davey Concepcion may have been one of the more underrated players on that particular team. He could do a lot of things.
He really could. Certainly hasn't had any Hall of Fame consideration, but I think if you were to look at his record closely, you might at least think about it.
I'd say. Steps back. Larry, who is the best shortstop? Do you put Ozzie Smith as the best one you've ever watched?
Head and shoulders above everyone. I think he's redefined the position.
Yeah, I agree with that. Longevity and everything included.
You would never see a shortstop.
There goes Fernandez, and he's going to get it. No one's covering second.
Oh, boy.
That's a little sloppy on Houston's part, simply because he had bluffed it a couple of pitches ago.
It's embarrassing what it is. Makes you want to take the star off your hat.
You know, it's amazing. Something like that could just wake a team up in a situation like this. Here he comes. Cedeno, Biggio, neither of them. Nobody yelling to alert them.
But that is the theory behind the delayed steal.
Check swing.
Usually didn't get an appeal there. He asked for it, but didn't get the swing call, so they count 3-2. On a delayed steal, the runner will take 3 steps sliding sideways and then break. And the idea is that if you can get yourself close enough to second before the second baseman or shortstop goes to cover, you can get to the bag before they do. And so it doesn't matter what the catcher does. Hernandez pulled it without a pitch.
Now it's 3-2. Nobody out. Tony Fernandez on at second base here in the bottom of the 8th inning, and Larkin slaps one out of play. Nice catch, huh? Is that little girl down there got that ball?
About that.
Take a look at this now. That is some nice grinder, huh? Way to go. Baseball night in America. Into the air to right field for Larkin. And falls just out of play. Now the big fella, he had an easier catch there when Kevin Bass tossed him that. I mean, the little girl had it all over him in style points. That was not even close down there.
Don't think he'll throw it back, do you?
Only in Wrigley Field. Only my favorite bleacher bums out there. Cincinnati and the Cubs set a Wrigley Field attendance record over the weekend. Hard to believe with as bad as that team has played this year. But they still sell it out. Wrigley Field's a happening. 3-2, nobody out here for Cincinnati. Got him. And a reminder, Saturday, August 6th, Baseball Night in America returns, and the Reds will welcome the Braves right here to Riverfront Stadium. Others will see that duel between Matt Williams and the Giants against Jeff Bagwell and the Astros, or other regional action. So check your local listings for the game in your area Saturday, August 6th at 8 Eastern, 7 Central. Little meeting out here on the mound with one out. Deion Sanders.
Mike Hampton comes on for the Astros, a left-hander acquired in the Eric Anthony deal. Got him from the Seattle Mariners. He's just 21 years old, a terrific prospect. Got 4 good pitches, the standard pitches: fastball, curveball, slider, change. Not a very big guy, but he can get it up there around 90 miles an hour. A little short on experience, but when you're left-handed and you can throw strikes and you've got good stuff, you've got a pretty good future ahead of you. Hampton probably figures to be a starting pitcher in that future, but for now he's the only left-hander in the Astros bullpen.
In fact, your team is a little shy of left-handers with Swindell the starter and Hampton in the bullpen. You look at Cincinnati, Larry, they're armed with 4 left-handers.
The Astros were looking for help from the left side in spring training and early part of the year, and I think they've about given up on it. There just aren't that many good left-handers around. You look at the guys you could get, and you look at the right-handers you have, and you say, well, you just soon have the right-hander face the left-handed hitter. And most teams are in that position. The Cubs have a surplus of left-handed relievers, but most teams would like more left-handers, can't find good ones.
So here's Deion against the left-handed pitcher with 1 out and Fernandez on at second base. It's a 3-run game right now. The Astros trying to prevent any more from scoring and getting their last at bat here in the 9th inning.
Floridians going against each other here.
On the corner.
Hampton, a 6th-round pick in June of '90 by the Mariners out of Crystal River High School.
Outside. The shortstop. Sereno throws out Deion Sanders, who is dashing down the line as Fernandez takes third. So with Fernandez on at third, it'll be Reggie Sanders. He's 2 for 4 tonight. Scored a run. Well, our guy Veers with a 2.25 earned run average out of the bullpen. He's 3 and 3.
Different kind of pitcher than Hampton in the sense that he's been bouncing around the minor leagues for a long time and has been released by the Dodgers and re-signed by the Astros. Like John Hudak, he's waited a long time and logged a lot of bus miles and put in quite a few innings to get this opportunity, and he's really taken it and run with it. He's having a good year. It's a sinker, slider, forkball pitcher. As an extreme hard thrower early in his minor league career, then had some arm troubles. Was wild before, has come back with not quite the fastball, but better control. That's the story with a lot of pitchers. They become better pitchers after they lose some of their fastball and have to learn. The necessity makes them learn how to pitch. Greg Swindell, the Astros bullpen catcher.
Making a few notes.
Now we know his hiding place.
That's right.
Keeps all his secrets in his cap.
Reggie Sanders. Runner on at third. 2 out. It's 7-4. Cincinnati lead right now. Little bobbling.
Ray Knight will never get a job with the Globetrotters. Well, he can laugh about it.
I mean, that's kicking it all over the place, isn't it? Huh?
He was not a bad fielder.
Low and outside. He was an important member of Davey Johnson's championship team in '86.
Yeah, and he scored that last winning run. I've never seen him leap so high in my life. He was with us for a few years.
Shot to third. Caminetti comes up throwing. Good strong arm from that line. And Cincinnati leaves a man stranded at third. The ninth inning. Houston needs 3 to tie it. And Chris Donald's middle infielder will step in here and pinch hit for catcher Tony Eusebio. Carrasco, having come on, has retired all 4 of the hitters he's faced here so far. Falls behind Donalds. Will be looking for a base on ball. And we'll remind you that the executive producer of ABC Sports is Jack O'Hara. Coordinating producer of the Baseball Network, John Filippelli. Coordinating producer for ABC Sports, Kurt Gowdy. Tonight's game produced by Tony Tortorisi. Down low, and now he's down in the count. 2 balls and no strikes. Our associate director, Roger Wilson. Technical director, Ed Collins, and our associate producer, Doug Johnson. So thanks to our fine crew here tonight. We hope you've enjoyed this game. Baseball Night in America. And Houston saying, not yet over. 2-1.
Gotta get those 27 outs.
That's right. And sometimes the last few could be the toughest, as you know.
Said you can't keep running plays into the line. You got to keep throwing it in there and give them their chance.
And it's 3-1. Leadoff walk to Donalds would help the Astros cause right now with Cedeno due up next. Then it would be another pinch hitter. Now the count's full. So the 7th run scored by Cincinnati well could be a big one, couldn't it? Giving them a 3-run lead right now instead of the 2 that they had.
Every extra run makes you feel a little more comfortable. You face a good hitting team and you realize that the way things have gone this season, a dramatic home run is not at all unlikely. And now your opponent has to get 2 runners before that can happen instead of just 1.
That should be the first out. From field and left field. Baseball Night in America is brought to you by Lexus Luxury Automobiles, the result of a relentless pursuit of perfection. So 1 out here. Cedeno slaps one back at home plate. Start of a 3-game series. 2 more still to go here in Riverfront.
Mike Felder is on deck to pinch hit for Dave Veers.
Carrasco has retired all 5 of the hitters he's faced. And there's Mike. Too low. It's 5 1/3 innings without a hit now for Houston, so it's been an excellent job of pitching, first by Smiley and then by Carrasco. Swung on and missed. Now a little bit out of the strike zone. Or so it appeared on the monitor, didn't it?
Looked like it was a little wide, but when you're throwing 90 miles an hour, the batter's only got about 0.2 of a second to make up his mind if it's a strike or not.
And Carrasco got him 1 out away now. And tonight's Chevrolet player of the game is Kevin Mitchell. With his 2 home runs, and in conjunction with this program, Chevrolet will contribute a total of $50,000 to the Boys and Girls Clubs of America in the names of all players of the game for the 1994 Major League Baseball season. So congratulations to Kevin on his big night. And now Mike Felder will try to keep it alive here for the Astros, who trail it by 3. Ground ball. This will do it. Cincinnati wins game 1 of a 3-game showdown against Houston. The final score is 7-4 for the Reds. 7 runs, 14 hits and 1 error, and for the Astros, 4 runs, 5 hits and 1 error. John Smiley is the winning pitcher for Larry Dierker. I'm Brent Musberger. We hope you've enjoyed Baseball Night in America. So long, everybody.